But I think the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
Self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest. Into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you whom we also have troubled minds. What's up? It is go time. This is the show where we get together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, and we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. We are live as usual and taking your phone calls and reading all the chat. We're streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. And of course, we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And well, tonight, we've got a little bit of time travel for you. If you're into that, if you're not, well, maybe we could change your mind. There seems to be a whole lot of time travel stories out there, and a whole lot of them seem to be a whole lot of BS, right? TikTok time travelers we've talked about in the past, and all kinds of pretty weird things. However, well, we'll get to time travel in a bit, but let's do the housekeeping, get to this other stuff first, things that we need to know about this show. And in particular, like I said, it is live. We're streaming on all these different platforms, watching the chat in all of them, and trying to keep up with you because, of course, we got people listening all over the world, and I'm honored by that. Thank you for being part of this and spending your time with us. And, well, as part of that, I'm going to try and keep up with all the chat, read as much as I can. So I am reading chat in all the places and trying to incorporate your thoughts and ideas into the show as we go, because this is more of a crowdsource sort of situation. This is more of a show where we get together and share ideas and maybe collectively come up with a narrative and some questions to ask. And that's what this is all about. So as a result, we are live, as I said, and taking your phone calls at 702-957-1037. That's 957-1037. You can reach us at that phone number and also troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link at the website. We'll put you in the Discord with all the rest of us, and of course we can get you on the show that way as well. Just jump in the caller queue and unmute your mic when you're over there, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. So a couple other things. We do have another Discord running over on Fringe. So go to fringe.fm/chat, and that will give you a direct invite. And Discord, of course, is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's a place to share links and ideas and photographs and all the rest of that stuff. And the best part is internationals can use it to communicate, which, again, the 702 area code is from Las Vegas, where I'm streaming. And if you don't like the long-distance stuff and you're international, well, Discord is absolutely free, 100% free, as long as you have an internet connection. So there we go. Also, let's see, fringe.fm/chat. Join that Discord as well. Same program, 2 different chat rooms. I'm watching all of them because I have eyes in the back of my head. Basically, I've heard people claim I'm an android, I'm an alien, all these other things. Not quite. I just have eyes in the back of my head. So take that for what it's worth. Take it for what you will, anyway. All right. So, and one final thing is the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds is at precisely 7:05 or 7:06, somewhere right in that pocket there. Just smash the play button on the Fringe app. You can download that at any app store, of course, iTunes and Android, and that's what's going on. So I think that sums it up. I think that gets us to where we need to be, and well, yeah. So a lot of news today, a lot of stuff coming out. Shout out to Matt in California out there for, in part, inspiring this show by sharing links in the Discord, and lots of other folks out there as well sharing links constantly and giving me ideas to talk about amazing things, and that's what we're going to do tonight. So, so we'll start with this other one first, all right? But then we'll get to Nikola Tesla tonight. We'll get to his time travel story, which, by the way, if you didn't know, Tesla, the original Tesla, not Elon Musk and the Tesla cars and Tesla trucks. No, the original Tesla, he actually has a time travel story. If you hadn't heard, well, we'll get to that. So, but let's begin here. Let's start with this tonight. Let's go to SciTech Daily. All right, and we'll start exactly with this. Now, this one kind of blew my mind a little bit. So we'll start here. We'll get to Nikola Tesla. We'll talk about the death ray. We'll talk about, of course, the FOIA that released the Nikola Tesla papers today, which or in the last couple of days anyway, if you guys didn't hear about that. All kinds of good stuff happening there. And, of course, we'll get to the Tesla time travel story. But let's begin with SciTech Daily. This is the one that will also probably blow your mind. The headline is this: Time reversal phenomenon. In the quantum realm, not even time flows, as you might expect. All right. And we've talked about this in the past, actually, how maybe parallel dimensions, the laws of physics possibly break down and don't actually react the way you would expect them to, okay? Because for whatever reason, kind of the polarity of things with, a positive and negative charge and batteries and things like this, electromagnetic fields. And, well, all the rest of this, it seems like if you have two universes next to each other, 2 parallel universes, string theory, of course, that maybe one of those parallel universes, clearly not ours because we operate on the Newtonian physics and the Einsteinian physics, as we know, but the one universe over might actually have time running backwards, and all of the actual laws of physics as we know them be completely upside down, the literal upside down, as it were. Okay, so then we go, so there we go. There's one idea. We've talked about that in the past, all right? But this is a little different. Now, think of it this way. All right, let's just read some of this article, and then we'll get to me rambling. I got plenty of time to ramble, but here we go. A new study shows the boundary between time moving forward and backward may blur in quantum mechanics. A team of physicists at the universities of Bristol, Vienna, and the Balearic Islands and the Institute for Quantum Optics and Quantum Information has shown how quantum systems can simultaneously evolve along 2 opposite time arrows, both forward and backward in time. The study published in the latest issue of Communications Physics necessitates a rethink of how the flow of time is understood and represented in contexts where quantum laws play a crucial role. Uh-oh. Yep. For centuries, philosophers and physicists have been pondering the existence of time. Yet in the classical world, our experience seems to extinguish any doubt that time exists and goes on. Indeed, in nature, processes tend to evolve spontaneously from states with less disorder to states with more disorder, and this propensity can be used to identify an arrow of time. In physics, of course, this is described in terms of entropy, which is the physical quantity defining the amount of disorder in a system. All right? You got all that? Now, this is where we begin tonight. This seems a little strange. Now, of course, the quantum world is it's tiny, right? So we are made up of the quantum world. Okay, they talk about in this article the classical world, which is us, right? It's the macro world. It's where we exist in this time frame, this human perception, consciousness, whatever this is, right? And we've talked about consciousness a lot on this show. And if there is, or not time, let's say about reality, if there's an actual objective reality, or if all of this, whatever we see around us, so you hearing me right now through this digital darkness that goes out and digitized, and my voice comes through the microphone and finds you wherever you're at right now, all of this reality may or may not even be as we expect, meaning that subjectively, the human brain tries to put together a coherent narrative, all right? A coherent picture of a reality so we can understand it and live in it and even thrive in it, okay? But it doesn't necessarily mean that the human perception of whatever this is, whatever reality is, it does not mean the human perception of this is accurate at all. It just means it's filtered through a human lens of sorts, right? Through our brain and through our experiences and through time as we experience that. And so the weird part here is that not only do we have this, quantum sort of flux, I guess you could call it a flux phase of things moving back and forth in time. So okay, it's just quantum physics. I know, like a lot of folks, this makes your eyes glaze over, but the quantum world is pretty incredible. There's a lot going on with it. There's something called superposition, where a particle, the wave-particle duality bit, where superposition could actually be sitting in a spot where they can do both, depending on whichever is needed next, and also kind of highlighted by the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which of course is just the exact same thing, where you can't actually ever predict where a particle will be in a particular moment because it's always bouncing around, sort of teleporting. And so you have some of this stuff happening in the quantum world, right? So not only do you have these particles that kind of won't stay still, they're just bouncing all over the place. We can't even measure them, and then once we do, sometimes they're particles, sometimes they're waves. We have all kinds of this weird stuff happening with photons and the rest of this in the quantum world. But this is the weird part. It gets even more weird than that. So think of it in terms of us, right? So just, touch your arm. That's the quantum world, except, you just can't see it. It's operating inside of us, inside of everything in the universe at all times, as far as we're aware, according to the quantum physics as we understand it. But all these particles are not static. They are constantly on the move, and again, until you measure them, you don't even know if it's a wave or a particle. And so again, you have this super weirdness happening with this superposition. You have the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and then now let's add this on top of all of that, which of course means that not only do we have these particles that can attain this superposition until measured, of course, and then they have to decide one way or the other, which again leads us to the possibility of a matrix-like world, right? Like an actual world where we live in a simulation because of the computer hasn't decided what it's going to do with the pixels yet until we observe them, and then they decide, right? Maybe something like this. So all of that aside, right? Other than the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, superposition, and these particles just bouncing around, it's in us. It's in everything: the desk, the chair, the tree, even the rock, as Yoda said in Empire Strikes Back. It's like the Force, right? The Force, it flows within you, right? Except the Force in this case is this quantum world, and it's what we're made up of. It's what everything's made up of. Now, if we're talking about these quantum particles and they bounce all over the place like this, and they're very hard to measure because of this instability, I guess you could say, at least according to the classical world, the realm that we live in, this larger macro world. Now you go to this SciTech Daily, and you look at what's actually happening with not just these things bouncing around. Now they're kind of flowing back and forth freely in time. In time, people. In time. Yes, like time travel time. Like it is wild what's going on with this. Okay, so now so think of the quantum world as it exists, as we understand it now. There's all that happening, but now let's add this wrinkle to it. And this is, again, time reversal phenomenon. In the quantum realm, not even time flows as you might expect. And let's get to the rest of this as this goes. This gets a little bit nuts, right? So Dr. Julia Rubino from the University of Bristol's Quantum Engineering Technology Labs and lead author of the publication said this, quote, "If a phenomenon produces a large amount of entropy, observing its time reversal is so improbable as to become essentially impossible. However, when the entropy produced is small enough, there is a non-negligible probability of seeing the time reversal of a phenomenon occur naturally. All right? So what is going on? So we're talking about in the quantum world, these particles in small doses are not only moving forward in time like us, and who knows about the measurability of that. Maybe they're actually moving faster than us and time traveling forward ahead. It's unclear according to this paper, but they have determined that at the same time, some of these particles in smaller entropy situations actually can travel backward in time, which means, think of it this way. Once again, we're talking about the quantum world, the entire quantum world, all right, which is everything, which is all the particles of everything, like I stated. But the thing is this. If we already have this superposition and this instability of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and these things bouncing all over the place constantly, we can't measure them, we can't pin them down, we can't do any of this. Now add this to that equation. And we have these particles not only possibly moving forward in time ahead of our own time space in minuscule amounts, also moving backward in time. Now, this gets even more crazy. Now, here's a good example of this and what's happening. But, okay, think of it like this, right? We've talked about the quantum world. We've talked about parallel dimensions. We've talked about wormholes and things like this, right? We talk about this stuff all the time on this show. But in this case, if this is happening inside of us, because of, once again, we're made up of quantum everything. The quantum world is the small world. We're in the macro world. We are made up of those things, all right? Again, the micro, the macro, all the rest of that. But the thing is this. Imagine if all the particles in your body are time traveling in slight amounts forward and backward. What does that mean about us? What does that mean about my hand right now, or my brain or my mouth or anything else that's going on here? Is what it means is that we are constantly in a state of time travel flux, like, right? In minuscule amounts, in different particles in our body, moving forward and backward in time. All right? Now, does that make any sense? Of course it doesn't, because quantum mechanics makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. And that's why this is pretty wild, right? So not only do we have all the rest of this stuff happening, now we have this quantum flux where we have time travel within our shell. The ghost in the shell, they say. Maybe the ghost is the time travel particles going back and forth. But anyway, listen to this. This is again from Dr. Julia Rubino from the University of Bristol's Quantum Engineering Technologies Lab. This is the quote. She continues, We can take the sequence of things we do in our morning routine as an example. If we were shown our toothpaste moving from the toothbrush back into its tube, we would be in no doubt it was a rewinded recording of our day. However, if we squeezed the tube gently so only a small part of the toothpaste came out, it would not be so unlikely to observe it re-entering the tube, sucked in by the tube's decompression. Which means, of course, time travel. We're talking about time travel. And yes, on the quantum level and in small amounts, but if that's the case, And if every single thing in the entire universe, as far as we're aware, is built on this quantum principle, then we're saying that we are constantly, our entire state of being, our consciousness and everything is moving slightly in time. And you would expect, right? Because all these particles, they're all linked together to create larger things like us and the rest of this. However, well, all these particles are different as well. And so does that mean part of us is constantly in the future and part of us is constantly in the past? And it's changing and bouncing around like these ping pong balls like we're talking about with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle and this superposition and everything else? Well, I don't know. I don't know, but it is pretty wild to think about. And not only that, there's more to this. We'll get to this tonight as we go. But like I said, it kind of got me thinking in terms of, well, yeah, time travel, right? Because of course, not only do we have this pretty nutty stuff happening here, again, the time reversal phenomenon in the quantum realm, we also have that came out in the last 3 days here. Thanks again, shout out to Matt in California for sharing this in the Discord today. Well, the famous or infamous papers of Nikola Tesla that were seized by the FBI have come to light via a FOIA, which is a Freedom of Information Act request. So we're going to get to some of that tonight as well. And lots going on tonight. So we got some time travel stuff to talk about. We got Nikola Tesla. We're going to talk about his death ray. We're going to talk about his time travel experience. You got it. He did have a time travel experience with Nikola Tesla. From his own words, by the way, this isn't a secondhand account. And, well, I don't know. What's going on with this? You tell me. I have no idea. I'd love to hear your thoughts regarding this as we keep going tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And, yeah, well, the quantum world seems to be a crazy place. Uncertainty principle, indeed. Well, how about uncertainty and time travel principle? So not only are these tiny particles bouncing around, we can't even measure where they're at from one moment to the next or even predict where they're going to be. Well, could that now be because they're actually time traveling? They're actually time traveling. Yes, I don't know, right? So again, this is science. This is breaking news. This is from November 26th. It's just a day or two ago, and these are scientific papers that have hit the scientific world recently. And so that's the thing here. So, given all of this stuff, what does it mean? What does it mean for us? What does it mean for time travel? What does it mean for things like, I don't know, let's say deja vu or the Mandela effect? What does it mean for the idea of a broken timeline? What does it mean for all of this? It certainly seems that, the quantum world is super weird. And what all this means is we probably understand less than we did yesterday because, of course, like I always say on this show, after you spend 3 hours talking about a particular thing, I don't think any answers seem to come to light. It seems like that by the time you're done, you're like, okay, now I kind of maybe start to understand it, but now I just have more questions. And that's what happens on this show. So the question tonight is this. Do you think, we live in that constant state of quantum time travel flux, which would mean we're time traveling all the time. Of course, forward and backward in this shell. The ghost in the shell, well, maybe it's us, time traveling constantly. And maybe it can explain things like deja vu. Maybe it can explain things like ESP. Maybe it can explain things like the Mandela effect. Or, well, who knows? I have no idea. Like I said, this is not the answer show. This is the question show, and that's what we're doing tonight. So that's the questions there. And can all of this actually become part of a broken timeline or influence it or create it in somehow or some manner? So we're going to talk about Nikola Tesla tonight, time travel, and a bunch of other stuff. And, of course, 100%, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the show tonight, you know what to do. Give me a call. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We're talking about Nikola Tesla, the death ray, his time travel experience. We are talking about, yeah, that's right, quantum tunneling, time travel, superposition. There's too much to explain. Let me sum up. All right, love to hear your thoughts on this as we come back. I'm going to take a quick break. You're listening to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More time travel, Nikola Tesla, and you when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And we're taking your phone calls tonight as we talk about time travel, talking about quantum tunneling, talking about how quantum particles seem to time travel backward and forward. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We're going to get to Nikola Tesla tonight as well, because apparently shortly after Nikola Tesla's death in 1943, the FBI moved in and seized all of his papers. They say there were two truckloads of Tesla's papers. All right. And if you guys remember this kind of goes back to, wouldn't you know it, Donald Trump's uncle, if you can believe that. So apparently he was involved in this process of actually confiscating these papers. Well, let's not say confiscating. Let's say the government took them for safekeeping. Well, all right, that's the way this goes. And so, some of those papers, right, that's one of those conspiracies that goes way back. And it's like, well, the government swooped in, they stole Tesla's papers, and what were they trying to do, right? What were they trying to cover up? There's this talk of free energy, there's talk of all of this stuff, right? And so what does this mean? Well, it seems that the government was definitely interested. And if you go with some of these conspiracy theories, right, there's the free energy, the Nikola Tesla stuff that gets written off as, no, he never perfected that, blah, blah, so on and so forth. The death ray, right, Nikola Tesla's death ray, which they say never actually existed. It was one of those things that was a myth, right, a fable, that this actually was never a thing and it was just a hoax or whatever, right? There was no actual Nikola Tesla death ray. Well, a FOIA release in the last week or so has actually showed that the death ray indeed did exist. Yep, we'll get to that tonight. And, get to your phone calls, because we're talking about, not just Nikola Tesla, his papers, how they were seized by the FBI in 1943, shortly after Nikola Tesla passed away. Well, but then what were they trying to cover up? What were they trying to hide? What were they trying to seize? And, talking about time travel, because why not? And by the way, there's a nice tie-in here. Not only have these the FOIA release exposed these documents from the government, so we've got three data dump sort of things happening here, and we're going to get to that. I've got links down in the description. Links are there on YouTube. You guys can find it all there, and it's already there. Again, shout out to Matt in California for pointing that out to me today. I would have completely missed it, which is why I always say this is a crowdsourced show. We get together and we talk about these things. We share ideas, and we you inspire me. I hopefully inspire you back, and that's the way this goes, right? So that's the thing. That's what we're talking about tonight. Nikola Tesla, his papers were seized by the FBI. We're talking about his death ray. We're talking about the free energy bit, and we're talking about, wouldn't you know it, he had a time travel experience. So, as we look at this quantum world, back to this from SciTech Daily, time reversal phenomenon in the quantum realm. Not even time flows as you might expect it. So, love to hear your thoughts. What does all of this mean? Have you heard of this Tesla stuff? Have you heard of the quantum world? Does it confuse you? Are you up to speed on this? What does this actually look like? So that's what we're going to do. If we would love to hear your thoughts, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to our good buddy James in Michigan. James Salcedo of Salcedo Paranormal. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Hopefully you can hear me.
Loud and clear, my friend. We're talking about Quantum time travel, quantum tunneling. You're probably familiar with this from the recent movies with Thanos and the rest of that, right? I think it was Ant-Man that did some quantum tunneling to time travel. You remember this?
I did not actually see the movies, but
Oops.
Unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with that. But it's just a very interesting topic. So, yeah, I love this stuff.
Okay, sweet. So I figured you being the huge Marvel fan that you would have seen those movies. So my bad. Completely sorry about that. Didn't want to spoil something for you, but there is quantum tunneling in the second variety. But okay, so what do you think about this now? This whole thing we're talking about, this time reversal phenomenon, the quantum realm. Not only do we have the Heisenberg uncertainty principle with these things bouncing around, we can't even pin them down. But now we have the fact that they may be in small doses, time traveling, in flux constantly, back and forth in time. What the heck, right?
Yeah, there are two things. There are two questions that come to mind with that idea, based on that idea. The first is, doesn't that mean that at the beginning of, let's say, what if this means basically there is no beginning or end to the universe? Because if you're at your beginning moment, how can you go back a split second even before that? Or if you're at the end, how can you go forward that split second and then come back?
The ends of time, the beginning and the end. Well, that's a good question. So that means at the very beginning in the singularity of the Big Bang, that you're correct. What if in a larger cosmic scale, this is actually happening to the universe? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's expanding and all the rest of this stuff, but so the question is here, what happened before the beginning and what happens after the end? Well, maybe the quantum world knows, because we sure as hell don't we? Do we? Wait, don't know, do we?
Yeah.
Can't even say it.
Yeah. No, and so that was my first thought to all this. The second is, it makes me think of the whole thought that every possibility is its own universe. Like every possible action, can lead to another universe or event or whatever. Does that happen because things go back slightly and then go forward in a different way each time?
Yeah, I think the implications here are pretty profound, because it means that time as we experience it and understand it is probably just a human concept. I mean, we've talked about this in the past with sort of like the way time works is the flat circle, and right, some of the rest of these things that all time exists at the same in the same moment, right? In the same, quote, moment. But I guess that would be a quantum moment, wouldn't it? That would be something to that effect, where if everything exists all at once in the same time frame, or at least in the same space, then, well, maybe this quantum stuff is actually those bridges happening just on a quantum realm. I don't know, man. On a quantum level, it seems pretty nuts to me that this is one of those things that we're still finding out. We basically know nothing about the quantum world. That's the craziest part about this. I don't know. What do you think about that ghost in the shell sort of situation? If we're made up of these quantum particles, and they're always in flux, not just in motion, in superposition, back to the particle wave duality, but now also they're even fluxing in time forward and backward, even at random, or who knows, maybe it's not random. Wouldn't that be even more weird? But Does that mean we're sort of in a temporal distortion ourselves constantly, right? Like we got 1 foot in the future and 1 foot in the past.
Yeah, and it's so funny. I mentioned this in the chat too, how in at least in Star Trek that I know of, but probably in other fictional, quote unquote, fictional universes too, that there's a name for that, and I forget now who said it in the chat, but temporal flux, temporal FL. That I'm not saying the bad word, so everybody make sure that they know.
It's got an L in there.
But
I swear it's got an L in there.
It does, yes. I hope that comes across.
Clear enough.
Okay, but yeah.
So what is temporal flux then? At least describing this in a, let's say, a Star Trek sense. Can you explain what this means then?
I think it's basically what this theory says, which is that time basically is not the same. It's you're going forward or backward through time. Sometimes even both, going forward and backward. Again, it's just a matter of we don't know how much or what kind of patterns there are to this. But that's basically the theory, which is really interesting. That another thing from a fictional show is possibly being proven to be, or at least theorized to actually be real at this point.
Yeah, it seems wild. It seems wild that we are maybe in that, let's say, a temporal flux, not just within us, but that means we're sort of in that. I don't know. So we talked about, you've got a paranormal podcast, by the way. If everybody doesn't know, follow James at Salcedo Paranormal. Link is in the description down below. You talk about paranormal stuff 5 nights a week. Now, how does this change that? Does this mean that we're the ghost in a temporal flux?
I mean, that's the most interesting thing to me now recently is the introduction, at least to my mind, more so than, others, I'm sure, but to time being a reason for so much paranormal activity out there. It definitely, I would say that almost brings us one step closer to maybe someday explaining the paranormal. Not right now. I don't think we're there yet. But I think that is definitely a key. I think it could explain what they call residual hauntings. Maybe they're not even residual, where it's an energy field just copying something that already happened. Maybe it's more of we're glimpsing other times or other people, basically, in other times, and maybe they walk down the hallway a certain time every night. And we think it's a recording of them doing that, but no, it's actually them in their own time walking down this hallway at a certain time every night.
And we're picking up, and so let's say they were in, 10 minutes from now, right? So we would be sort of out of sync with their time frame. But in this quantum world we're talking about, having 1 foot in the future and 1 foot in the past, we would actually see them, even though we're not in sync with their time frame because of their quantumness jiggling back and forth in the time space. So maybe we are the ghosts, which means that they would see us as ghosts as well, right?
Exactly, and that could explain also in a way the cases where you see something or you hear something just for what seems like a split second and then it's gone. If it's that short of if the movement forward or back in time is that small, that could explain why you might see or hear something just for just that, just real quick, and then it's gone.
Exactly. And so, that means that in this temporal flux, right, whatever this is called, we're going to roll with that because it sounds fantastic to me. This wherever we're at in this time space realm of temporal flux, 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the past, it certainly means that the reality as we know it is not like we ever imagined. I think we can probably both agree on that 100%, eh?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, and I apologize to whoever mentioned that in the chat originally, and I've forgotten, and too late to look at it now.
That's okay. That's okay.
So, but yeah.
Okay, good stuff. Any other thoughts on this?
No, I'm just looking forward to hearing what everyone else thinks, because this has just brought up more questions to me. So a great topic.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the call. If everybody loves paranormal stuff, and you absolutely do, because that's why you're here, well, James here runs a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. He does paranormal stuff 5 nights a week, and go give him a follow. Link is in the description below, Salcedo Paranormal. Thank you, James, my friend. I appreciate the call. Appreciate your input. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, thank you. And just so everyone knows, I'm going to be having Derek, the Night Stalker, on Friday. So...
nice.
Just for those of you who are fans, as I am.
Nice,
You know?
nice. All right, looking forward to that. I will not be doing Troubled Minds on Friday, so you'll probably see me there. Appreciate it.
Nice,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yep, have a good night.
You too. Thanks for the call. There you go. James kicking us off with some great ideas here. And what is this about? I guess the question is, are we that ghost in the shell? Right? Are we that whatever is actually happening is 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the past, in this quantum realm as time flows backward and forward, actually in small doses? So that would put us in some sort of temporal flux in perpetuity, right? So I don't know. There's some weird stuff to this. And how does it relate to Tesla, you may ask? Well, Nikola Tesla had a time travel experience, and the story goes a little something like this. All right. Speaking of time existing in all in one space all at once, it goes a little something like this. Okay. So Nikola Tesla was working on some project. Okay, he had set up, as we all know, the Tesla coil and all his energy and stuff bouncing all over the place, the free energy and all the rest of this stuff that has been rumored that was suppressed and stolen by the government and all this stuff, right? Well, as we know, he worked with a lot of current, a lot of electromagnetic fields, all the rest of this stuff, right? And so then on top of that, he ended up in a situation where he got stuck in some sort of, let's say electronic sort of some current. Some current hit him and grabbed him and froze him in that state where you know if you get shocked when you're holding on to something, you can't let go, and so they tell you to whack somebody's arm with a stick, even if you got to break their bone to get him off. Well, he got stuck in that sort of thing on one of these contraptions he was working on. And not only that, his assistant actually came in and noticed it happening and had to save him by shutting the device off. So he may have actually died in that moment had his assistant not been there to save him. That's how this story goes, right? But then the thing is, on top of that, when he came out of that, he was rattled, shaken for weeks, if not months, because not only did he realize he almost died in that moment, but he also described that moment as everything. Meaning, you know how we describe, these near-death experiences, how your life passes before your eyes, this type of thing, right? You experience everything in a super, super quick moment. Well, he experienced that, but it was not just his life. It was the entire universe. From beginning to end, all places, past, present, and future, he experienced in the same moment when he was stuck inside of that electrical contraption he was working on. And again, he probably would have died if his assistant hadn't come in and shut the machine off and saved him. And so, of course, not only did he have a near-death experience, it seemed like he had locked into, I don't know, what do we call it? The Akashic Record? He had locked into all the knowledge of the universe from the beginning to the end. And he still, to the day he died, he stuck with that story. He didn't change it. And he was also a believer in the fact that he wasn't actually creating the things he created. They were giving them to him. All right. There was some sort of download of information to him from some unknown source. And there's a quote there. I'll pull that quote up a little bit later where he's describing whatever this source is. But that's what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about Nikola Tesla. We're talking about his time travel experience. We're talking about this quantum what do we call this? This temporal flux. All right. So this temporal flux, again, like James was describing there, is the stuff of science fiction. You see this as a plot device in Star Trek, right? Maybe you get kind of bumped into the next time frame and there's nobody there. You're on the Enterprise, but there's nobody around you. Well, because you're bumped out of phase, out of the time phase. You're still in the same space, which would be the ship or the house or the street or the place you're in. But because you're bumped out of phase, nobody's there. Or only other people are there that are stuck in that same phase with you, right? Well, that's what we're talking about. Temporal flux. Temporal flux. I don't know. Love to hear your thoughts on this as we keep on trucking tonight. As you know, taking your phone calls, 702-957-1037. Let's go to Joseph in Iowa. What's up, Joseph? Welcome to the show. You're on Trouble Minds with Mike. How are you, my friend?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. Go right ahead. What are your thoughts here?
Well, I feel like you've already talked about this, and I had my experience where I said I saw the whole world collapse in a flash, and and there was like a core at the end of it. I already went through all that. But what I was thinking the core could be is a dedicated server, basically like a source using us as like an organic, what do you call it? Like, we're basically like flies, but we're just, I don't even know how to really explain it, but it would be something that could survive the end of time. And if something could survive the end of time, it could collect, like you could tap into it in the beginning of time. It would just be there, like a dedicated server, So like if we were going into a black hole and it's observing us or tapping into us, time for us is going to slow down to nearly, like it's going to, or I don't know how it works really, but it's going to change, and it collects data from that. So maybe it's drip feeding, all what's happening right now is just a drip feed off of the surface.
Right. So meaning
the surface, and that
meaning that we're not
that
even
would be like the core.
Okay, the core. But then continue.
So like, what were you saying?
Well, what does that mean about us then? So if we're able to experience both things at the same time, what does it mean about us in this moment? Can you get knocked out of in this temporal flux? Can you get knocked into another time frame? What do you think that happens with that?
I'm not sure if you could just get knocked out of your physical body, at least, but I'm sure there's a way to definitely see the future and see the past with machines and technology in the future. Like, you could definitely use your sci-fi imagination and do some stuff with that, I think.
Yeah, 100%. That's where we're at. We're talking about temporal flux, and we're talking about how the quantum world seems to suggest that this is not just a reality, but it's our reality. Pretty wild stuff. What else? What we got you on, my friend? We got about 1 minute left.
I mean, yeah, that's basically it. I wonder if you see, like, if you're able to see everything, like the whole world collapse and all that. I wonder if that means you're like tied to the end, and maybe I think we have to all be tied to the consciousness in some way, even though some people operate like differently. For us to make it and be this similar, everyone's like a Nikola Tesla.
Okay. All right. Fantastic stuff.
Really.
Fantastic stuff. I appreciate it. Joseph and Io, great stuff as always. Thank you for sharing your experiences. Thanks for sharing your theories. Fantastic call.
All right, man.
Have a great night. Thank you very much. There you go. Simple as that. Phone lines work. Thank you, James. Thank you, Joseph, for getting us kicked off tonight. We're talking about temporal flux, and not just a temporal flux. We're talking about it in terms of science, how they've discovered. Yeah, that's right. That's right. At the quantum level, particles not only seem to be able to bounce around with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, immeasurable until measured, quantum particle wave duality. Well, on top of that, it gets even more weird, because not only are they bouncing around immeasurable until we pin them down and actually measure, now we're finding out that, yep, these particles in small amounts with tiny amounts of entropy are able to travel back and forth in time. That's right. The quantum world is us. We are the quantum world on a macro level. So does that mean we are in a constant state of temporal flux? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More temporal flux, Nikola Tesla, and you after the break. Be right back. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. Random images does they traverse neurons in the brain.
All right, so maybe,
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This show's live. We're doing this. We do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we do it on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. And, of course, we broadcast live on the Fringe FM. Taking your phone calls tonight as we discuss, that's right, the temporal flux. Thanks, James, for the term temporal flux. We're talking about Nikola Tesla. We're talking about the documents that were seized from him just after he passed away in 1943. We're talking about his time travel experience. And does this all fit together? Are we as people caught in a temporal flux, 1 foot in the future and 1 foot in the past? You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can also join the Discord at troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. We also got another Discord server running at fringe.fm/chat. Give you a direct invite. I'm watching chat in all the places and trying to keep up with all you guys and all your amazing thoughts. And one more thing before we get going here. Download the Fringe app. You go get the Fringe app on your favorite app store, of course, iTunes and Android. It's completely free, and it's the easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds. Just smash the button Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific, and, well, you'll get me. And, of course, you'll get all the rest of the amazing stuff that's happening on Fringe on a daily basis as well. So, all right. So what we're talking about tonight is this. I see you, Matt. We'll get to you in just a sec. See you on the phone line there. All right. So this, right? We're going to start here again. Just reframe this as this. SciTech Daily reports time reversal phenomenon. In the quantum realm, not even time flows, as you might expect. All right. And so, of course, there's a lot here, right? A team of physicists at the universities of Bristol, Vienna, and the Balearic Islands and the Institute for Quantum Optics and Quantum Information has shown how quantum systems can simultaneously evolve along two opposite time arrows, both forward and backward in time. And what that means is, just like I described, the entire quantum world is what we're made up of. Not just me, not just you, every object in the universe as we understand it. And if that's the case, that means every single thing is in a constant temporal flux because, well, these quantum particles are not only, as we described, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, superposition, and the rest of this. Well, the next step is they're bouncing all over the place. They're immeasurable until we pin them down and actually measure them. Particle-wave duality. Is it a particle? Is it a wave? All of this, right, was weird enough with the quantum world. But now it's described like this. Yep, you got it. Small doses of entropy. If the phenomenon produces a large amount of entropy, this is from Dr. Juliana Rubino from the University of Bristol's Quantum Engineering Technology Lab. She said this. If a phenomenon produces a large amount of entropy, observing its time reversal is so improbable as to become essentially impossible. However, when the entropy produced is small enough, there is a non-negligible probability of seeing the time reversal of a phenomenon occur naturally. Naturally. That's right. Meaning time travel happens naturally in small doses in the quantum realm. All right. And it's constantly happening. All right. So here we go. Quote, we can take the sequence of things we do in our morning routine as an example. If we were shown our toothpaste moving from the toothbrush back into its tube, we would be in no doubt it was a rewinded recording of our day. However, if we squeeze the tube gently so only a small part of the toothpaste came out, it would not be so unlikely to observe it re-entering the tube, sucked in by the tube's decompression. And so what that means is, well, it sort of means everything, doesn't it? It sort of means that not only, well, is the quantum world even crazier than anybody ever could have imagined, we're made of the quantum world. And so if these particles inside of us are bouncing around not only particle wave duality, superposition, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, well, what about this now? And these things are constantly time traveling, influx, back and forth, in and out, and, well, what does it mean for us? Are we in a constant temporal flux? Thanks, James, for the term, because I guess that's what this means, right? I don't know. So love to hear your thoughts on this as we do this tonight. And if you want to be part of the show, one more time, 702-957-1037. We'll get to Nikola Tesla and the death ray in just a moment. But before that, let's go to Matt in California. What's up, Matt? Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
Good. How's it going, Mike?
Doing very well. Thank you for sharing that Tesla article with me. It's one I missed, and I think it's pretty critical to the story tonight. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I always like talking about Nikola Tesla. He was really a smart guy, and he did a lot for science.
100%. And not only that, go ahead. Yeah. Continue.
Oh, I think he was really misunderstood. And I think he knew a lot of things that we need to. I like that they released the documents because I want to look at what he was working on. I find it funny that they took it away. They were like for the safety of for our safety, so his work doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Right, Dr. Evil's going to pick up the Tesla papers and fire up the death ray, right? Exactly.
So I always wondered if people are working on, if they have a team of scientists working on his work now, and they've had it and they're working on it, but they just can't figure it out. Maybe he had some sort of missing component. One thing he needed to finish his, whatever he was working on, the free energy. He had like one thing he just needed one component that he couldn't figure it out. So something like that. But I want to talk, Nikola Tesla, he talks about the law of vibration. He says, he has a quote, it's like, if you want to understand the universe, you got to understand vibrations. And all jokes aside, I want to talk about the law of vibrations and things, the quantum world.
Sure, go right ahead.
This is in Hermetic philosophers were talking about this, thousands of years ago. They're talking about the law of vibration. The law of vibration states that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Everything is always moving and vibrating all the time. So everything we see, when you see like a wall or whatever, we think it's standing still, but it's not. And the ancients knew this before the discovery of atoms. But once scientists caught up and found, atoms, and then they found the electrons and things around the atom, they started to realize that there's still space between those atoms. So, like I said, everything's always moving. And so the way the vibration is what causes things. So there's like a difference of vibrations between like matter, like a physical, like a harder surface is harder because the vibrations are faster, and then even like energy and spirit have different vibrations, slower or faster vibrations. And then we throw the time thing into there, and that's where it gets kind of weird. But talking about like vibrations and things, have you ever like met someone you just didn't like, or been to a place you felt uncomfortable?
Absolutely.
And we call it bad vibes. Yeah, we call it bad vibes, right?
Right.
And where that come from? That's really what it is. We're picking up on the vibration of the person or the place. And so everything has different vibrations. You can think of things like incense and sage. When people burn incense, it's cleansing. It's raising the vibration of like the temple. So that's why it feels so good. Or even crystals raise or change the vibration, have different vibrations, and change the place. And so if you guys want to do this, it's just an easy little thing you can do. They're called affirmations. Talking good about yourself. It's kind of like a mantra. You repeat over and over. So you can say to yourself, you wish to vibrate with the energy of blank. So it could be, health, prosperity, love, a specific god or goddess, or a color, or one of the four elements. Whatever you choose, you just say it over and over again. You can, take a couple deep breaths, say it over in the mirror. Just try it out to say, so it says, I wish to vibrate in harmony with blank. And then fill in the blank with whatever you're wishing for. Say it 9 or 10 times and see if anything changes. See if you can change your vibration. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's pretty. But
once you start getting into the time traveling stuff, that blew my mind.
Yeah, and that's all part of it, isn't it? So it is interesting that you stated that the ancients knew about this anyway. They spoke in terms of this maybe quantum vibration that was constantly happening. But again, like you said, once you throw in the time travel mix of these things are actually phasing in and out of time as well, not just our time, but it's slightly in the future, slightly in the past. Doesn't it stand to reason that maybe that whole frequency vibration thing that, like you said, the bad vibes is we notice. Let's say for instance, I'm in a particularly foul mood today. All right. And let's say me and you hang out on a daily basis and I show up and you're just like, wow, something's wrong with Mike. He hasn't even said anything yet, but you just knew it. You picked up on it. Right. But is that now what we're talking about? Some weird like thing happening on the quantum realm and the quantum level inside of me that, well, I'm agitated, I'm nervous, I'm this, that, I'm the other thing. And so those things are vibrating faster, slower, whatever it happens to be, out of sync with what my normal energy might be. And you pick up on it. Well, now add the time travel into it. And I'm now not just maybe when I'm in that foul mood and I'm agitated and this time temporal distortion flux thing is going on, that maybe that's when you sort of phase into the next time frame, the next time slice. Maybe it vibrates a little bit more vigorously, if you know what I mean. And then just like we see ghosts, like we talked about when James called in. Well, what if then you are now appearing in other time frames and they see you as a ghost? Pretty wild stuff, huh?
Yeah. I like talking about this stuff. Exercise your mind.
Yeah, 100%.
Make you think about things because, like I said, I like to talk about the vibrations and things like that, and Nikola Tesla, and I like talking about time travel. So it kind of we throw them together. Now I'm kind of confused. I don't really know much about the temporal flux, but it's very interesting to me. So I like to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you for having that as a topic.
Yeah, you got it. Thanks for sharing the article. Like I said, there's no Nikola Tesla tonight without Matt here sharing the article in the Discord. So if you have not joined the Discord yet, troubledminds.org, click the Discord link. Get in here and share. Well, you never know when the stuff you share will end up on the show. Fantastic stuff. Anything else you got on that? So he did, Nikola Tesla was a big believer in frequency. What do you say? He said the three things: energy, frequency, and vibration, didn't he?
Yeah, I think I think he was communicating with some like other dimensional spirit or some higher power, maybe. That's how he knew all this stuff. That's what I believe. And maybe they're trying to suppress that. There's a lot of, when you start looking into Nikola Tesla and what he did, you just start running into all these like crazy conspiracies. I don't really want to go down because some of them are kind of dark, but there's this one guy. What's that one guy's name? I always forget. Thomas Edison.
Yeah, Thomas Edison.
Yeah, so there's some dark conspiracies and things there. I just think it's interesting. We look at it and research it and talk about it, and I'm all for the free energy thing. So we gotta figure that out.
Yeah, 100%. And so notably, they did release his papers in the FOIA request that came out. So there's some missing though, of course, as you would expect, right? So they said that when he passed away in 1943, that they took 2 entire truckloads of Tesla's papers. And so on the FOIA here, let's go to the FOIA real quick. You can see this. It's vault.fbi.gov/Nikola-Tesla. There's 3 documents that they've released, which of course doesn't seem like it's 2 truckloads, but at least it's a start. And by the way, it confirms the death ray. Matt, did you catch that in these? I don't know if you read any of the documents or in that article at all.
I read the article, but I kind of skimmed through some of the documents. It's hard to read on a phone.
Yeah,
you have to look at it on a computer.
Yeah, totally.
I was at work. But yeah, that's interesting. Go ahead and go with that. That's interesting too. Okay, well, we'll get to the death ray. He invented a lot. Yeah, he invented a lot of crazy stuff, like stuff that we use still to this day.
Exactly. And if that free energy got buried, well, we're still waiting for the free energy. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and it's interesting is 2 truckloads. How they just showed up. They're like, we can't let this fall into the wrong hands. We need it, and took it away. And then they released a little bit at a time. But I guess the question would be, why now?
Yeah, that is a good question. Why are they releasing these through the FOIA? Especially, we're talking 1943. He passed away. They didn't even implement the National Security Act till 1947, and so they still kept this under lock and key until now. Now, I mean, we're talking like this week. It doesn't make any sense. Clearly, there's a cover up here, and I think the conspiracy holds 100%. What else you got, my friend?
I just want to say, like talking about Nikola Tesla. I know you guys do too, so just keep on researching.
Right on.
Thank you, Mark, for having me on.
You got it. Appreciate the call. Matt in California, thanks for sharing the link. Thanks for inspiring the show. Have a fantastic night, my friend.
You too. Good night.
Thanks a lot. There you go. Simple as that. You guys want to be part of the show? We're talking about time travel. We're talking about the temporal flux that, of course, is, well, all but confirmed by a paper that came out this week. And literally the same week, you guessed it, FOIA documents came out about the missing Tesla papers. Yep, not the Elon Musk Tesla, the Nikola Tesla. And as the story goes, he passed away in 1943, and the government moved in with Donald Trump's uncle, of all things, which kind of fits into a whole other conspiracy. Donald Trump is a time traveler, but we're not going to do that tonight. But in any case, right, it seems strange that all of this kind of coincided in the same week where they released these documents finally after they seized them way back in 1943, that the exact same time we have this happen. Yep, that's right. Time reversal phenomenon. In the quantum realm, not even time flows, as you might expect. And so what does that mean? I think it means that we're constantly in a state of temporal flux. And of course, that means that we probably can't detect it, at least directly, like Matt was describing there. Maybe we detect those things indirectly through a sixth sense. And notice, just like he described, and he has a great point, imagine you meet somebody that you've never met before, but they just give you a bad vibe, right? What is that? Like it may be the way they make eye contact or they avoid eye contact. It could be some social cues. But what about when there's none of that? What about when you just see somebody walking down the street and they give you a bad vibe? Are you picking up on this temporal flux, that may be agitated, that may be moving. Maybe this particular person seems to be more out of phase with our particular time than you are, and so you pick up on it through this sixth sense, which of course you would expect to have in a quantum world, right, where this stuff is happening on the regular. Well, yeah, I don't know. Just speculating here, just drinking some maybe juice and doing our thing. As Derek out there says, shotgun in the maybe juice, because why the hell not? But anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. What do you think about Nikola Tesla? And again, we're going to get to his death ray in just a second, those papers that have been released. But we're talking about time travel. We're talking about Nikola Tesla's time travel experience. We're talking about the death ray. We're talking about how his papers were seized just after he passed away in 1943, and how some of those papers have been released this week through the FOIA. Again, why so long? That's a good question from Matt as well, 1943 all the way to now. But oddly enough, in the same week, we get the Tesla papers released. We also get quantum time reversal phenomenon. Weird. Super weird. All right, so that's what we're doing tonight. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. The phone number is also there, and you can find everything you need, Troubled Minds wise, right there on the website. All right, here we go. This is the thing. We're going to do this. We're going to keep on trucking. Let's talk about Tesla's papers, all right, and the fabled death ray. Now, this is a conspiracy theory, okay? This is one of those things that was never confirmed by any documents that anybody can prove or bring up, right? Well, here's one of those stories. The time Nikola Tesla paid for his hotel room with the death ray. This is from mentalfloss.com. And he was known for having he was a very peculiar guy, Nikola Tesla. He was a notable germaphobe. He was didn't like to be around people, didn't like to touch people, had very OCD, had things in all the right place at all the right time. He was one of those types of guys, right? And not only was he brilliant, he was also a little bit socially weird, as you would expect, right? But that seems to track. And so on top of that, he lived in a hotel room at the Waldorf Astoria, right? And I think that's the name of the hotel. I'll check that in just a sec to make sure I'm not fibbing here. But it's in this article I got pulled up. And so he would run up huge hotel bills because he didn't like to have his own place. He liked to have housekeeping and had to have everything just so. And so he was perpetually broke because he had these gigantic hotel bills all the time. So there's this one time not at band camp, but the Waldorf Astoria instead, he actually said that he would pay for his room with one of his inventions. And that invention was the death ray, the fabled Nikola Tesla death ray. All right. So what he did is he told them, all right, I'll give you this invention. It's the death ray. Nobody can really, you shouldn't go into this box because it will actually, if you open it, it might kill you. Right. So you have, like, don't do this. But it's yours, okay? It's yours. So they took it, right? They paid off like $10,000 or something like that in hotel bills for him because they were taking over the death ray. Well, here's what happened. After he passed away and they moved into the room to remove the things, somebody finally had the courage to open the box that was supposedly the death ray. Turns out it was a bunch of spare parts just thrown in there and rigged to look like it was some sort of contraption. But it turns out it was non-functional and it was not a death ray. And so there you go. There's the actual conspiracy theory of the Nikola Tesla death ray, all right? Which is fine. We'll get to the rest of this in just a sec. But if you've never heard this story and you're into this and you're into time travel and you're into temporal flux, then you're in the right place. We're going to keep talking about this. We're going to keep taking your phone calls if you want to be part of the show tonight. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. We're talking about Nikola Tesla, his death ray, his time travel experience, and yes, you got it, temporal flux. What does it mean? Hang around. More coming up. More Tesla, death ray, temporal flux, and you when we return. Be right back. More Troubled Minds on the way. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. We're talking about, that's right, temporal flux. What does that even mean? Well, it means that not only do we have the Heisenberg uncertainty principle at the quantum level, the particle wave duality, and the fact that the quantum particles are bouncing all over the place. Well, now it turns out they also may be time traveling in small doses, forward and backward. Well, it might explain some things. It might bring some more questions. Love to hear your thoughts on this. We're going to talk about Nikola Tesla, the death ray, finish that story, and keep on trucking. Love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. All right, so let's finish the Nikola Tesla death ray story. Now, the thing is this, right? So he supposedly paid for the death ray with a... He transferred it over to the hotel to pay for his hotel bill. Okay, so that's how this went down. Nikola Tesla, again, kind of a germaphobe, sort of a weird, awkward recluse, clearly brilliant genius, but he liked to stay in a hotel instead of have his own place, and so he racked up really, really large hotel bills. And everybody knows he died broke, just like Matt said, Thomas Edison. You know that guy? Oh, that guy. But Tesla actually died broke because of these huge hotel bills that he couldn't really keep up with, even though he was brilliant and selling his inventions and all the rest of this. Well, it turns out to pay off one of his last hotel bills he was way behind and they were going to kick him out. He offered up his infamous death ray. All right. And so the way the story goes is that he told the hotel, okay, I've got this invention. It's called the death ray. And it's super dangerous and nobody should really play with this, but it's yours. I'll sign it over to you. This will be your thing. And I just want to be able to pay this hotel bill and catch me up and, get me square. And so they took the deal. And so they canceled his hotel bill and they were the proud owner of a Nikola Tesla death ray. All right, so it turns out he passed away. Again, rest in peace. 1943 is when Nikola Tesla passed away. So the FBI moved in and they took his papers, two truckloads worth of papers. All right, which we'll get to in a sec. But the death ray turns out that finally he told the hotel staff that it was a very dangerous device. You shouldn't open it because you needed special equipment and the rest of this, and he would be there for them. And so the way it worked is when somebody after he passed away, when somebody finally had the courage to open the box, it indeed was not a death ray. It was a bunch of spare parts kind of rigged together to make it look like it was a contraption. They say it was non-functional and it was, not a death ray at all. And so there's the conspiracy, right? The conspiracy is that Nikola Tesla invented a death ray, right? Because of these myths, right? These folklore, right? Word of mouth, hearsay, this type of stuff. And so in this case, right, Nikola Tesla with the death ray was like, all right, well, it seems like a really smart dude, kind of maybe conned him into paying off his hotel bill for a bunch of spare parts. But then also it really began that conspiracy theory that he did create an actual death ray, right? But again, if you kind of dig different corners into the different corners of the internet here and try and find evidence of the Nikola Tesla death ray, it kind of comes up empty. Like there's no evidence of it existing. No, even when they dismantled his projects and the government took them for safekeeping. Wink, wink, safekeeping is what I mean. There was no evidence of an actual death ray, even though there was rumors of because he had spoke of it and the rest of this, right? So there's that. However, now, in this document dump that just happened because just recently, again, this is from the vault.fbi.gov/Nikola-Tesla. There is documents in here, an actual memo from J. Edgar Hoover discussing Tesla's death ray. So the fabled thing actually becomes a thing with the highest levels of government. J. Edgar Hoover, of course, being the head of the FBI and really the godfather of the deep state, if we're being honest here. Keeping book on presidents and keeping himself in power for way long past his time. Imagine, like I always like to say, Jim Comey, good old Comey. Remember him, that FBI director? He thought he was this guy, J. Edgar Hoover Jr., right? Keeping books on presidents and politicizing stuff and airing their dirty laundry and the rest of this. Well, sorry, Comey. Get owned. Nowhere close. But anyway, so it turns out that the actual documents that were released, again, the links are in the description down below if you want to check this out and actually verify it. And back to this article that described all of this as it happened. This is from, this is from Curiosmos. And this is the article that Matt shared earlier today. Download a treasure trove of secret documents seized by the FBI after Nikola Tesla's death. And so we have this, right? More than 300 secret documents that were seized by the U.S. government after Nikola Tesla's death are now freely available for download. And they got some notable things in here, some new revelations. The batch of documents made available thanks to a FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, revealed the government interest in the so-called death ray weapon invented by Nikola Tesla. The papers also reveal that Nikola Tesla did not die on January 7th, 1943, as previously believed, but on January 8th, 1943, so they were a day off. And this is the interesting part about the death ray now. The documents available at the FBI's website reveal a plethora of previously unknown information, which has remained a secret for more than 75 years after the FBI seized around 2 trucks of papers and documents belonging to Nikola Tesla. 2 trucks, 2 truckloads. All right. But we have 300 documents. I'm not a mathematical genius, but I think we've got some missing. The plot thickens, right? So here we go. This is, let's see, okay, on Saturday afternoon, January 9, Gorsuch and Fitzgerald of Alien Property Control, figure that out, went to the hotel and seized all the property of Tesla, consisting of about 2 truckloads of material, sealed all articles, and transferred them to the Manhattan Storage and Warehouse Company, New York, where they are now located, all right? So goes the story. And that's from these documents, right? Straight from the FOIA documents that they have on Nikola Tesla. The documents reveal the government's great interest in Tesla's weaponized invention, such as the death ray, a device that conspiracy theories claim to have existed for decades but was held a secret. After Tesla's death, the U.S. government rushed to take possession of his papers, documents, and inventions in fear that Tesla's work would fall into the hands of America's enemies, who would make use of the inventions and obtain an upper hand in the war. And yep, here we go. Among the jungle of documents, papers, blueprints, and inventions, it's interesting to find a letter addressed to J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI's first director, and of course, the godfather of the deep state. The document highlights the importance of an article where Tesla speaks of the death ray weapon and its crucial importance for future warfare, and how a country that possessed such a weapon would have a great advantage over its enemies. It kind of seems like Nikola Tesla maybe reinvented the Ark of the Covenant, right? A box with a bunch of spare parts, said don't touch it, so you're going to get shocked. Whoever holds this weapon will bring down the walls of Jericho. It almost seems like the death ray is not what you might expect. But anyway, J. Edgar Hoover actually had some interest in this, as did the government, and so there's how that story finishes. So he actually promised to pay the hotel in the form of his invention, the death ray, which turned out to be just a box of spare parts. But then we have actual government memos to, it's to J. Edgar Hoover regarding the Tesla death ray. So, I don't know. There you go. There's to finish that thought up. If you want to be part of the show, love to hear your thoughts on this. And we're talking about temporal flux tonight. We're talking about 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the past. We're talking about Tesla's time travel experience. We're talking about death rays, the FOIA that just released some documents regarding Tesla and his death and his inventions, and finally an official document that mentions the death ray. So, love to hear what you have to say about this. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go back to Joseph in Iowa. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. What's on your mind, my man?
Hey, so I want to make this kind of quick. A lot of people have seen it, the Stephen King book. They made a movie on it where he goes back to save JFK.
I don't know the book, but okay.
And
I'm with you.
I think, there's
okay.
Always a guy there waiting, and he pops up at random moments. Now, I think this is because they might have that Tesla technology to be able to detect time travel. Maybe like people who hallucinate. You hear stories about people hallucinate military operations. Maybe their wave went off, but they preemptively knew that was going to happen, so they were able to catch you.
Ah, like the time police,
you know,
the time travel police.
Like they basically made the time police. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, with some sort of device that would actually detect these temporal fluctuations and actually nab a time traveler as they came back to change a timeline. Interesting, man. Interesting. Do you remember the name of that book? Anybody know the book out there? I'm not sure. I haven't read a ton of Stephen King, so I'm not exactly sure.
It's like a date.
Oh, it's a date.
The date of.
Gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha. So James Salcido, Salcido Paranormal, put in the chat, the name of the book is 11/22/63. There you go. Appreciate that, James.
Yeah.
Nice, nice. All right. So there's always a guy there. So there's some sort of time police, possibly. You would expect, right?
Well, you got to think where we are right now in technology. I mean, there could be tribes. You think of the Mayans, how they were doing mass sacrifices. Maybe they were beaming back in time and collecting that, you know, or, you know, I don't know how it would work exactly, but maybe they were in tune with that.
Yeah, I would think so. So we've talked about this before, right? If at some point in the future time travel is perfected, you would expect there would be some sort of, you know, very much like Philip K. Dick's That Adjustment Bureau, where they would have these time cops. They would actually have them trying to keep people from going back and meddling with timelines, right? So, I mean, I could see that. Again, like in our current time space, I don't think we've got time machines. However, that doesn't change the fact that in the future they may. And if they do, well, that means they could probably come back here. And there would be catastrophic repercussions if somebody came back and were reckless with the time space, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was thinking about, like, how would they catch you? I was thinking, like, they would have to be able to see the energy, you know, like almost like an augmented reality. I think they have a game like that in this amusement park that I've seen, where like you hold like a pad and you can see in the room ghosts and stuff. So they would have like some kind of energy. Maybe that's how like mold does like the perfect pattern, right? Maybe that's what, actually that don't even make sense. I don't know. I can't really.
Well, I think that's the craziest part of this is none of this makes sense. And yet it seems every day something new scientific discovery comes out that verifies, yep, that's right. None of this makes any sense. So you're in good company, bro. I don't understand it either. I'm struggling here just to explain all this stuff, but yeah, fantastic. Thank you for chipping in again. What else do we got while we got you on the phone, my man?
That's it.
Right on. Appreciate it. Thanks for sharing. 11/22/63 is the name of that book, Stephen King. Thank you, Joseph and Iowa.
It's a good show. I watched the show. I didn't read the book.
Gotcha. Okay. Where can you find the show? Can you tell us? Is that Netflix or somewhere else?
I think Hulu.
Hulu. Okay. All right. Sweet.
Hulu or Prime. One of those.
Okay. I'll check it out. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks, man. Appreciate the call. Have a great night. Thanks for listening. There you go. If you guys want to be part of the show, we're talking about Nikola Tesla tonight. We're talking about his time travel experience. We're talking about his death ray and the Foya dump, right? But before all that, this story starts way back here. Time reversal phenomenon. In the quantum realm, not even time flows as you might expect. And what it means is, just to in brief, is that on the quantum level, well, we have this, again, Heisenberg uncertainty principle, right? Everybody knows the name Heisenberg from Breaking Bad, of course. That's where he took the name, by the way. A scientist by the name of Heisenberg was a quantum physicist and came up with the idea that, well, you cannot even predict where a quantum particle is going to be from moment to moment because they're teleporting around, right? So that's bizarre enough. Then you have this quantum entanglement stuff, which we haven't even talked about tonight. Albert Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, right? So you're thinking, okay, well, now we have all kinds of weirdness happening. We got these quantum things. Then we have the particle wave duality, where on the quantum level, a particle can be either a particle or a wave, depending on the observer effect, whether it's being observed or not directly. And then, right, so then things are super weird, but then let's add to that. Yeah, that's right. this quantum flux, or temporal flux is what we're calling it. Thanks, James, for the term there. And this is from, for sure, 100%. There's a paper that just came out, and here's the way this works. In small levels of entropy, they say that these quantum particles can not only bounce around with this Heisenberg and the dual wave, particle wave duality and all the rest of this stuff, entanglement, all that, but then as well, to make it even more bizarre, that, these particles can travel in time in small pieces of entropy, meaning this. We can take the sequence of things we do in the morning. This is a quote from Dr. Juliana Rubino from the University of Bristol's Quantum Engineering Technology Labs. Back to that. We can take the science of things we do in our morning routine as an example. Now, of course, we're thinking on the quantum level here. That's just an example. If we were shown our toothpaste moving from the toothbrush back into its tube, we would be in no doubt it was a rewinded recording of our day. However, if we squeeze the tube gently so only a small part of the toothpaste came out, it would not be so unlikely to observe it re-entering the tube, sucked in by the tube's decompression. And so it's not talking about any sort of known physics. It's talking about this bizarre, time travel. And that quantum particles not only are all this bizarre uncertainty, they also seem to be able to travel in small doses in time, forward and backward. Yep, that's right. And so it goes like this. The quantum systems can simultaneously evolve along two opposite time arrows, both forward and backward in time. So I don't know. You tell me. This gets more and more weird, right? Then, of course, let's put Nikola Tesla's time travel experience back on the table here and think that, it seems like we really don't know a damn thing about the real world, do we? This subjective versus objective reality and quantum physics, and then, of course, the micro-macro, like Joseph said there with the fungus and the way it grows, sort of in the fractals and the rest of this, right? Everything does seem connected in some way. And it makes sense because, of course, if everything's built on a quantum level in a quantum world, then it would make sense at the macro level that things, would follow some sort of pattern. And then, of course, we've got Matt called and talked about the energy, frequency, and vibration that Tesla talked about. And there's a whole lot here. There's a lot of conspiracy theory going on. And oddly enough, a lot of conspiracy theory that's becoming conspiracy fact, including we now have a government document, a memo from FOIA to J. Edgar Hoover discussing, that's right, the vaunted, fabled Tesla death ray. So let's get back to his time travel thing real quick. Nikola Tesla. He got stuck in some sort of, what would you call it? Some sort of electromagnetic field. All right. One of his actual devices he was working on, one of his experiments, he got caught in it and it nearly killed him. And he was stuck, frozen in a moment, and could not escape. And it turns out his assistant walked in right as this happened and was able to shut the machine off and basically save his life. Well, what Tesla described after that fact was in that moment, he saw everything. Like I said previously, he was able to basically tap into the Akashic record, meaning, all the way, he was able to see everything from the beginning to the end in that one single moment, the past, the present, and the future. So, again, I don't think anybody would call Nikola Tesla a knucklehead. I think that would probably be a grotesque misrepresentation of who that man was. However, he's talking about that in terms of something greater. Like maybe he did have a peek into that Akashic record, whatever the universal Library of Alexandria, as it were. Something in that vein. So, I don't know. There seems to be a lot here with this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Still taking your phone calls and considering all these things as we do the drink the maybe juice and consider all the weirdness. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. We got, looks like the mighty Rohan. What's up, Rohan? Are you there? Test 1, 2. Welcome to Troubled Minds. What's going on, my man? Test 1, 2. Hello. 702-957-1037. Talking about this, not quantum entanglement anymore, if that wasn't weird enough. We're talking about this temporal flux at the quantum level. What's up, Rohan? Welcome to the show. How are you, my friend? The famous Liam Martin.
Well,
Hey, cheers, buddy. What the flux?
Yeah, right?
Right.
Dying to make that joke all night.
Actually, it just came to me just as you just said it just then. And I thought, oh, I'm going to grab it now, quick. Let's hop. Anyway.
Quick, slam dunk it. All right. So what do you think about this stuff? What is going on in the quantum world, man? Like, are we literally 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the past, and we are the actual temporal flux? What's going on with this?
Well, I think this is where we're starting to get the hints of stuff and sort of why it becomes like a golden age, the great unveiling and that. And I think James hit it on the money when he was talking about these kinds of discoveries that we're getting that science is having to admit to. And these are giving us hints into, like I say, starting to explain some of the paranormal. So when we get to explaining some of it, it's not paranormal anymore, is it? It's normal, right? And I think the same ties in with all the with all the same with all the science stuff. It's like having the extra body. Are we multidimensional then? Okay. And I think with this temporal flux thing, it's opening us up to having to accept the reality of being multidimensional beings. And I think this is where we're getting with it. Do you know what I'm saying? And because we've got the physical body, haven't we? But then we've got Kirlian photography showing us we've got some kind of aura. That's like some other level body. We've got Eastern medicines that are working with the subtle energy body. All right, we've got plenty of OBE reports somewhere. So there's another body there. So there's at least 2. Do you know what I'm saying? 3. And then we're looking at science and the universe and saying, well, there's more than 3 dimensions for all of this, stuff around us that we call the universe. So it stands up to reason that there's going to be, we're multidimensional, aren't we? It stands up to reason. It stands up to Occam's razor. If all things are consciousness, which is another new scientific thing they're having to say, then, I think we're all in flux all the time. What do you think of that, Mike? I think everything's in flux continuously.
It seems to be that's the case. And they say actually that if you can vibrate at the exact particular wavelength that you can actually pass through solid objects. All right. If you could control from your head to your toe, everything inside your body to vibrate in a particular manner, you would be able to pass through a particular door, for instance, if it was, the frequencies matched up just appropriately. So if that is the case here, that what you're talking about is that it seems like, people like to kind of crap on the idea that there's this stuff happening, that we could be dimensional creatures ourselves. But I think, we may be onto something here. I think that, as Matt says, it's not paranormal. It is normal. And that's exactly what you said when you tapped in here. Now, we got like a minute left, so let's wrap it up, and you're welcome to stay after we get off the fringe. We'll finish up with you, but
sure.
Give us a final thought here, and then don't go anywhere. We'll keep you on.
Just to carry on from that and from what Matt said, because he made some good points, but just to be quick, you got to remember that Einstein quote is that famous Einstein quote as well. He said basically, any reality that you want to have, you know what I mean, you just got to align your frequency to it. Do you know what I'm saying? And then it's going to happen. You're going to experience it, sort of thing. And we hear this, in terms of, the positive thinking thing. But I think there is something to this, and it's methods to doing it. So maybe we can talk about that in the third hour, Mike. Okay, you got it. So hang tight. Rohan's got a podcast called Exiled Minds Podcast, guys. Links are in the description. Please go give him a follow. Listen to him. Brilliant dude, talking about amazing things on the daily. So go check that out. Rohan, mute up, hang tight. We'll come get you in just a sec. We'll talk about this more in the third hour. And as we finish, you guys know how this goes. Well, it goes a little something like this. Another day, another dose of troubled minds. And what does this mean? The hell if I know. I don't have any answers. I'm not the answers guy, I'm the questions guy. But it seems like the more science seems to get caught up with things, the more weird reality seems to be. And that's what this show's all about. And as we finish, thank you for listening. Thanks for being part of this. If you're listening to us on The Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Rook Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night.
Fringe and into the third hour of Troubled Minds. And of course, we're still talking about quantum fluctuations, the temporal flux, 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the past. And not only that, it's been confirmed by science. Remember, we're supposed to trust the science. But what does that say for the paranormal? It's now becoming the normal? Exactly right. Well, apparently we're supposed to trust the science. So that means, as Rohan said, we may be those interdimensional creatures that, get kind of crapped on in the zeitgeist. So whatever, we're going to keep on talking about this and keep on trucking. If you want to be part of the show tonight, love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. This is when we usually take a break, but we've got Rohan on the line, so we're not going to do that. We're going to talk to Rohan, and we'll take the break after we're finished with him. Welcome back to the show, the mighty Liam Martin. Welcome back, my man.
Hey, brother. Wow. I'm honored. Yeah, skip the break. Look at that.
Skip the break. We're going to skip it. Race, what's up? Race in the chat has a fantastic statement here. He says, we should probably master basic normal first before we start tampering with and screwing up quantum levels normal. Basic normal is already kicking most people's ass. And he's got a fantastic point. Fantastic.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, agreed, 100%. Well said. But yeah, so back to what were you saying? Let's continue with. Go right ahead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, it's that ties into it nice actually. Yeah, the basics. We've got to get to the basics, and it's almost like. And it's like tooting our own horns and stuff, but people doing the things we're interested in and discuss on these shows, you've got researchers that are pushing against science, aren't they? And it's took them like 20 years. I mean, Nassim Haramein, I think he's been doing it 20 years. Okay, the vortex, Marco Rodin, vortex mathematics and eroding core, we'll talk about in a minute. I mean, they've been doing this stuff for years. Yeah, the Farsight remote viewers that I was mentioning, Astro Reptilian from Mars mentions a lot, the remote viewers, they've been doing it independently for 20 years. It's like these things take time to get through, to break through the dogma. And I think we're starting to see that sort of unfold now. Do you know what I'm saying? And then these little, these massive discoveries start coming through, where it's starting to look like, and then it starts to make it look like what the ancients and saying and these gurus and spiritual people was right on the money the whole time. Do you know what I'm saying? So then I think, well, if that is then the reality, no wonder you don't want people to know. No wonder you're going to tell people it's woo-woo. Because before you know it, you'll have a planet full of ascended masters running around, and they're not going to pay tax. Right?
Ascended masters don't pay taxes. That also needs to
T-shirt.
T-shirt. Oh, jeez. Oh, you're killing me. No, you're right, though. Back to actually what you said, like maybe a couple weeks ago when you called in with like the Ascended Masters, like you said. How many people? Like 7,000 people on the Earth, I believe you said, should be Merlin-level magicians, right? Something like that.
Yeah. That's it, yeah. Should be able to levitate, yeah. And that was based on old population stats from back then, so, yeah.
Right. So now with that, so clearly Merlin didn't pay taxes then. So Ascended Masters now certainly don't. I love the thought. But okay. But what does it mean though with this quantum stuff? So are we in this eternal, this temporal flux, meaning that it is that energy, frequency, and vibration, and like we've suggested in the past, we're able to control these things. Like Matt said, with intention, maybe with meditation, maybe with affirmations, maybe like Robert has said over on Rockfin. What's up, Robert? I see you there. Thanks for showing up, man. He has said that the universe is there for us, and all we need to do is ask it. Tell the universe, not ask it, even demand it. Demand what we want from the universe, and it changes the course of things. I don't know. Do you think that's a possible part of this, and maybe this is kind of fits in?
Well, I think that fits in perfectly, actually. He's on when he comes in with him, he hits him on the nail, and then it's like the counter song when he comes in with them. Because I think that really ties in with this, definitely. Because that's what all the successful motivational speakers and sort of successful, there's life coach people. They all say that. They all talk like that. Do you know what I'm saying? I think there's something in it. I think there's something in. Okay, so all right then. So we're in. So uncertainty principle. Okay, if a tree falls. Yeah, and there's no one there to hear it. Does it make a sound? Right, well, think about this. The definition of sound, it requires a sensing instrument like an ear and an eardrum to detect it, for those ear compressions to be defined as sound. So by definition, if there's nobody there to hear the tree falling, there is no sound by definition. Okay, now if the universe is thought to be similar to a computer simulation, okay, then why bother loading in the sound effect for a tree falling if nobody there to hear it, right? Which then gets us into that, are we creating time then? Like Nightstock said, are we creating time, are we creating this? And I think that's exactly like what it is. And I mentioned Marco Rodin with the Rodin coil because the mathematics that work with that is called vortex maths. He calls it vortex maths because it's got this toroid with an electrical coil wound around it. Or it's got two coils, funnily enough, running in opposite directions, right? And they're running in opposite directions because he's saying that time moves in a figure of 8 pattern. Okay, so that would make it moving both backwards and forwards and looping back on itself. And so by winding a coil, an electrical coil, just a normal coil, by winding it in a very acute angle, Story-David pattern, with two circuits going in opposite directions, it three phases it, so it's got one on, then nothing on, and then the other one on. Okay, and in the negative draft space, when it's not on, it draws power still. So it actually produces more power for a field coil for less copper. It's been tested at Hewlett-Packard. Right, so there's and that sounds a bit complicated, but when you look at the maths, it's like a figure of 8, time moving back and forward. So then that brings us on to Big T, Terence McKenna, because he had that time wave zero theory that everyone poo-pooed, and that had a frequency waveform that went back on itself. Do you know what I'm saying, Mike? So it's like, we might have licked some of this stuff already and just not realized.
Yeah, and so it really kind of goes back to that whole idea too. Like Matt was saying previously, that the ancients had all this figured out. They knew about energy, frequency, and vibration. The Dogon tribe knew about these dual sun systems and things that you could not be seen with the naked eye. Like there's some bizarre things happening with this stuff. With ancients knowing things they probably shouldn't. They didn't have tri-field recorders, as far as we know, meters, tri-field meters. I mean, they didn't have any of that stuff, right? They weren't doing EVP.
Tricorders.
Yeah, exactly. They had full-on tricorders, exactly, right? But I mean, I think that's the bizarreness here, is that Matt adds in the chat as well, all mystic prophets talk about raising to a higher vibration. And so just like you described, well, if that's what's really happening here, then we are those actual extra dimensional or dimensional entities, right? And so what about the ghosts and all the rest of this? What about the machine elves, man? Are they just like 2 time slices ahead of us, and so they're kind of watching us from a different time slice in the same space, and we have to
oh my god, do you know what they might be, Mike?
What's that?
They might be us. We're in resting time, doing trouble minds in the astral world. So when you pop into the DMT world, that's why there's a big cheer. It's all of us lot going, yay, come on, you can figure it out. Come on, you can do it. Come on. But don't bring your ego. See what I'm saying? Because that's kind of how it feels. It's like, I don't know. I think that's what it is, Mike. I think that's what it is. I think when we jump into this container, this experience on this particular realm, I think everything's so limited in this container for reasons. There's a reason for it, because it gives you lots of advantages, not knowing stuff, because it gives you the opportunity of discovery. Anyway, it's just, a lot of philosophical stuff there, but I think that's the thing. I think obviously if everything's consciousness, then there's it's only one person here, sort of thing. So we're all experiencing ourselves. Do you know what I mean? So then it makes it like anything's possible. So then it becomes a case of, well, is there an operating manual? And I think that's what, say, these meditators are doing. And if we're talking about time's in flux, then there's got to be some universal time clock, hasn't there, sort of thing, or some update system. I think that might be what the stars is. Perhaps that's why astrology works then, if you know how it goes. Because I'm thinking, what if you set an intention then for something in the future and set it in the past? Then that way they're going to meet each other in the middle at some point, aren't they, in time? So if you then make your in the now moment when you do the ritual or do the prayer, if you make that on the same day that those two things are crossing each other, going forward and back in time, surely that's the optimum power point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, and so which would mean that we're basically just a hazy mess, right? Like the actual like container that we live in. What's up? Shout out to Matt. Everything is so limited in this container. Put that on a shirt. The container that we live in, this meat suit, is just a quantum disaster. So, well, that would explain some things, wouldn't it? That would totally
the quantum psychic bomb.
Exactly, that we're struggling with continually, not understanding all of these frequency vibrations and energy that's kind of flowing through us, that we actually are. We're made of it. It's not a part of us. We are made of these things. That if they're also time traveling willy-nilly, even in small chunks, small doses, well, it just means it without, think of it, I guess, even in a photograph, right? You can take a camera and they say the camera could be an objective reality, right? And they take a picture, you still see a person, right? Like we still see visually a person. But once again, we're only kind of sticking with a particular, light spectrum and, the rest of this stuff. It's kind of tuned perfectly to the human eyeball. But then what about auras? You know what I mean? Like it kind of opens up all kinds of this other just really weird shit that people go, oh, come on, that's too woo, Mike. What are you talking about that shit for? But it's like, hold on now. What if our aura is that quantum time step back and forth, left and right, that's constantly happening, and it's throwing off some sort of signal, right? And like,
there you go. There's your imprint, Mike. Instead of inventing forces, do you know what I mean? To explain first, though, you got on there, haven't you?
It seems like, and as Joseph said when he called in, that with that Stephen King JFK thing, that's how the time police might detect that you're out of sync, that you are not in the correct time.
Yeah, well, I was so glad he brought that up, because that being in sync thing, I think that's the thing. I think that's what happened. I think that's why the Philadelphia experiment went wrong, because if you don't anchor yourself to where you're supposed to be in sync, then it's a crapshoot whether or not you're going to pull it back in sync. Do you know what I'm saying? You've got to have a kind of marker, haven't you? Do you know what I'm saying? You can't really, so they sort of trial and error it. It's a bit like if I want to watch on Rockfin but listen on another platform and get the audio from there, I've kind of got to, unless the videos are perfectly in sync already, you've got to keep pausing one, haven't you, and sync them up. So how many USS Eldridges have you got to burn through before you figure out the sync point? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And so back to that whole point. So it means we are the ghost. We are the ghost in the machine, but it's not internal, it's external. It's all of us. It's from every particle of us is in constant flux and time traveling, by the way. Don't forget that.
Oh, shit. You'd be ghosting yourself.
There you go. It's official. You can actually ghost yourself. Yeah, this is pretty wild. Some of these questions, some of these ideas are out there, and the crazy part is there's some science here, right? There's some science backing this up. They're saying, hey, by the way, not only is this quantum world like super crazy, by the way, it's also time traveling crazy, right? I mean, there's a ton there. We haven't even talked about entanglement or the quantum immortality, any of that. Like we're leaving out so much of that. Yeah, it didn't even get there. There's not enough time to get there in one show. But I mean, I think that's the crazy part of this. I don't know. So if the ascended masters don't pay taxes, and they also know that the world is energy, frequency, and vibration, then what does that mean for us? Other than we got a long way to go.
Well, I suppose you have got a long way to go, and you haven't got a long way to go, because you think about it, people like someone like Jesus or Shiva. You listen to these people, what they say about us, and and there's a lot of accounts of deities saying, "Don't worship me." Right? They really say that, don't they? They're like, it's giving your power away. They say, "Don't worship me." Right? Use that power, so you can be impressed, and you can be grateful. But they'll say, if you're going to worship something, worship sort of yourself in the sense of elevating yourself to become me, because Shiva and Jesus and Buddha all said you can do this too. You just can't do it yet, but if you strive to elevate yourself through these basic rules, then you'll be able to do this too, and you'll be able to do more than this. Do you know what I mean? And they're all saying it. Do you know what I'm saying? So what message do you want to take? Do you want to take that message that we're multidimensional consciousness beings with a light body that can actually, yeah, we might be in a matrix, but that means we can all be Neo. Do you want that reality? Or do you want the reality that, oh yeah, you were made by this God that made you wrong, so you're a born sinner, and this dude died, that you're like shamed forever and forever marred? Do you know what I mean? And this, oh, you're a cancer to the planet, you're all polluters, do you know what I mean? It's like there's two completely different narratives there. One's like, you're just here to have fun and you're amazing and you're all gods. And the other one's like, oh, you're all pieces of crap and you must do better.
Sit down and shut up.
Shut up.
You pieces of crap.
I'm saying you can't talk anymore. You literally can't talk anymore. Soon we won't be able to sit down.
Right, exactly. What's up? Couple shout outs. What's up? Shadows of the Moon is here. What's up? Thanks for showing up. We got Annette over on Rockfin. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Thanks for showing up tonight. Annette, yeah, what's up? We're talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. We're here with the mighty Rohan of the Exiled Minds podcast, the famous Liam Martin. Got some audio mashups coming from him. Thank you again for making that Ash one. Pretty amazing stuff. And other stuff coming. He's made some more that we'll play on the show as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think regarding all this stuff, it literally is, the paranormal is sort of becoming the normal. And like we've always said, right? Science is woo-woo until, or, woo-woo is woo-woo until science says, oh, well, it's not. Here's what we figured out, right? And so, well, we're always trying to catch up to it. Again, we've talked about Wim Hof in the past. Think about that. Think about like his meditative state. Think about the cold showers, his breathing techniques. Maybe he's just found a way to maybe settle down that quantum agitation, the agitated state, right, through his whatever he's doing. And so it's allowed the body to become more of a perfect machine and less of a kind of a stress case, cancer thing, cancer making meat suit. I don't know.
That's right. That's right, because he's from Holland, right, Wim Hof, and he makes a sort of joke, but it's true, that he doesn't smoke weed. He says, oh, yeah, I used to, but Holland, but I don't need to anymore. I don't smoke. I stay fit and healthy, and I can get high off your own supply. He said you can activate the same endochromes. You can make the same process happen anyway, because your brain's already geared up for it, for the high off cannabis. So with his breathing stuff, it triggers it to happen anyway, so he gets high for free. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like,
hey man, there's only one way to become more famous than Nikola Tesla. He offered free energy. Don't you dare get high for free, because you think the beer line's long. Holy shit, man. Don't do that, Rohan. You're going to kill us.
But I think you're right for the trauma. See, you mentioned Joseph Campbell, I think, on the last show, and there's like the hero's journey and the discoverer's journey, the explorer's journey, but the hero does it for a trauma. And I think with the Wim Hof stuff, with the ice work, the sub cold showers, and you're like shocking the body into triggering mechanisms to open up on you, a bit like you can, like plants can get a shock and stuff, and it can affect them. Do you know what I mean? I think we're looking at that stuff, like tapping into these things, like say, and yeah, it's coming in. And I think that chatter was onto the chat message. I can't remember who said it was, but they was onto something as well, in terms of, yeah, we've got more than one nervous system. We've got 3 nervous systems, and it's backed up with the gut feeling. In fact, Scientific America says gut feeling, the second brain, right? And in Nature magazine, they wrote a paper about it, saying that enteric, that's the gut feeling, it's got your stomach's enteric nervous system, and they call that the hub in a star network. Do you know what I mean? And Dr. Richard Alan Miller, the famed metaphysicist polymath, he says that your enteric nervous system, your gut feeling, he says the reason that is accurate, if you trust it and don't get in the way of it when you're thinking, he says that's accurate because it pulls the information direct. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not going through your brain annoying, it's all separate, so it's getting it essentially straight from hyperspace. Right. Do you know what I mean? And if we go back to go on, sorry.
Downloaded from the machine else. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, straight in. And it's like, well, yeah. So I just want to back the person in the chat comment there with that. So maybe some of this stuff explains things like deja vu. And these people have teleported in history. Historically.
The Mandela effect, broken timelines. This goes all over the place. Absolutely. We got a couple calls behind you, man. You're welcome to stage.
Yeah, cool, man.
Okay, you can hang out. You're going to go. It's up to you. Completely your call.
Yeah, I'll just mute myself for a bit. I'll shut up for a bit and read the rest of my notes and get them together.
All right, cool. Catch up with you in just a bit. That's the Mighty Rohan. Follow his podcast. It's called Exiled Minds Podcast. You can find it description link down below. Let's go to we're talking about this quantum weirdness tonight. Let's just reframe this real quick. Got a couple phone calls we'll take. The time reversal phenomenon in the quantum realm. Not even time flows as you might expect, meaning that not just do we have this weirdness with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle with particle wave duality. We're talking quantum entanglement, quantum immortality, all of this weirdness of the quantum world. Now they're saying that quantum particles actually time travel in small doses as well. So, which means that we're placed, because not just us, everything in the universe, as far as we understand it, is that we are in a constant state of temporal flux because all of our atoms are time traveling, right? Even if it's a little bit forward, a little bit backward. And maybe this is what we talk about when we're considering frequency, energy, and vibration and the Nikola Tesla stuff, is that, well, maybe an ascended master has been able to calm the agitated state of their atoms and not have so much uncertainty. And it's more certain, and so they have more control over respiration, like Wim Hof, like we were saying. And who knows? There's a whole bunch of really weird stuff going on with this. And love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. Shout out to Bernays Sauce. I see you there. Thanks for all the great chat. Let's go to Robert in Pennsylvania. What's up, Robert? Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm gonna launch a squash the bow of troubled minds.
Do it.
This quantum thing, all right, of instability, being able to, never knowing whether it's going forward or backward. It's just the nature of the universe, and it's the nature of us. All right, we form a reality that is taught to us as the time goes by. We're taught that we only move forward. All right, we go from infant to sickly old man or woman and die. That's the forward movement. All right, but it's also a lie. All right, it's just something that is, it's like propaganda. Where you can, where because everybody's doing it. All right. The quantum instability, like that goes in either direction, is determined by yourself. All right. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say somebody reaches the age of 48, takes a look at themselves in the mirror and says, "I'm tired of this shit." All right. This aging is out of here, and decides, I'm not going to go forward, into the years. I'm going to go reverse. All right, I'm going to reverse my meat suit or whatever. I'm going, instead of aging, I'm going to unage or regress or whatever appropriate word would be that. It certainly can be done. All right? It's a matter of, one of the things about, and I don't want to get religious because I'm not that particularly religious myself, but Jesus said it himself. He said, heal yourself. He knew you could. He knew about quantum mechanics. He knew what was going on inside you. He knew about the instability. And I'm just saying, we're in control. And as long as and matter of fact, that's what, if you believe everything, nothing is impossible, all right? It's hard to convince people, after all these centuries and stuff of how life goes on and does it, that they actually have the power to change the reality anytime they want to. All right, because you created it. You assembled this meat suit. All right. I don't know how better to say it. We're in complete control, but we don't think we are. And it doesn't make any sense to me because I know we're in complete control. It's obvious to me. But people don't seem to... I think it's part of forgetting who we are once we come from the other side and go into birth. But all these metaphysical things that I've talked about from time to time calling into the show are absolutely real. All right? Now, don't get me wrong. If let's say somebody decided, I'm not going to go forward into aging, I'm going to go in reverse. That doesn't mean that within the next day they wake up, they're, instead of being 48, they're 28. It goes in reverse at the exact same pace as it went forward.
Right. Well, and
like I said, I'm going to shoot an arrow over the bow of troubled minds.
No, I don't know if you were here when I mentioned you. I said the exact same thing, not exact, similar anyway, and based on a theory that you had previously. So we're here making our own rules, right? We don't have to ask the universe for anything. Like you said previously, we demand it. And then once whatever happens changes with that quantum reality, right? Whether it's in an agitated state or a less agitated state, maybe back to the Wim Hof stuff and meditation and who knows, it seems like they knew this stuff way back in the day. So it does make some sort of sense that we can control all the things we can control. And which means...
Well, of course, because we're creating our reality every nanosecond of the day. We're creating it when we're sleeping. All right? We're in charge. We did this to ourselves. We put ourselves here. All right? And we're in total control of our space, of who we are and what we are, and the circumstances of our lives. And what you were saying, referring to something I said some time back, you can demand the universe give you something that you feel you need. You can't be polite about it. You can't say, would you please do this? Because you let the universe make up its own mind, whether to do so or not to do so. You demand it, and it has no choice. And by the way, I've been watching the show, listening to the show all throughout the beginning to now, but sometimes, especially when it's a complicated subject like this, for me it's better to listen.
That's okay.
And hear what other people are saying, what you're saying, to absorb it, and that's really what sometimes it's just good to lay back and just listen.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's a radio show after all. You're definitely entitled to that. And I know you've been one of the top fans of Troubled Minds for a very, very long time, and I appreciate that very much. So the rest of this, what else you got? Any other hot take on this quantum mess that we're talking about?
It's our quantum mess. All right? Just like you were talking about, I forget the spiritual guide or wherever you're talking about, who can calm his own atomic structure down. All right, he calms it down because he's in charge of it. He tells it, calm down. All right. If you got an ulcer, you got a stomach ulcer, it doesn't have to stay there. You don't have to take a lot of doggone Pfizer medications for it. All right. All you do is, if you recognize that it's there, is say, go back to when it wasn't there. You tell it, go back to when it wasn't there, and it'll go away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You won't have that ulcer anymore. But you're telling the stomach to go back in time to when it wasn't there, and it will.
Yeah, and so, we've seen this too. So science actually backs up this idea. We call it a placebo effect, where the body knows how to heal itself. It's like waiting for permission sometimes, right? It's a little weird.
Yeah, they call it a placebo effect, but but that's a misnomer. It's reality. It's you taking control of your reality, of knowing what your reality is, and knowing that you're in charge of it. It has nothing to do with faith-based belief.
Right. Nothing to do with those sugar pills.
It's knowing who you... Right.
Gotcha.
Oh, they find all kinds of words for different things that just are common sense.
Gotcha. Right on. Fantastic stuff as always. What else you got for us, my man?
Well, that's it. I'm going to sit back and listen to the rest of the show. And is Leon still there?
Yes.
Who was on before me?
Yeah, Rohan's still here. If you want to say something to him, he's still here.
Rohan. Well, I want to listen to Rohan. He's fascinating. I like listening to him.
Okay. All right.
Good night.
Fantastic. Thanks for the call. Robert, you're the best. Robert in Pennsylvania. Appreciate the call. Have a fantastic one. We'll talk to you soon. Robert's got a book, link in the description. Check it out. It's called Stories from a Fractured Mind. He sent me a copy. It is fantastic. If you like science fiction, consciousness, time travel, all this stuff, well, he's in the right place because that's the type of stuff he writes about. That's the stuff he thinks about. Check it out. He hates when I do it, but I'm going to do it anyway because he's been a big fan for a very long time, an advocate for troubled minds, and he helped us get on Rockfin. And that's the thing, right? Like I always said, it's not a competition. We could always succeed together, and that's what this is all about. So there we go. All right, so we got Rohan here. We got Mr. Mission Control on the phone. Let's do that, and then I guess maybe we won't get a break tonight. We'll just keep on rolling, right? When you get enough interest, like I said, embarrassment of riches. Too many brilliant people. Then we got to keep taking phone calls. Looking to hear from you. What's your idea on this quantum mess that we're talking about? 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the past, literally, not just figuratively, like in a literal quantum state. And love to hear your thoughts. 702-957-1037. Let's go to Mr. Mission Control in Arkansas. What's up, brother? Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just been following this Omicron thing, and for everybody that's followed Monograph and the notes that derived from the Twitter accounts that were pulled when he run the B11529. So I'm getting the notes right now because I haven't been on the computer in several days. I've been kind of scared to because I've been researching Dan Winter frequencies and his golden ratio times Planck length is 1.618033989, and I've been messing with frequencies with kind of like that and like another equation. He came up with a 13.563688 megahertz and stuff like that. Well, the Omicron has a lot to do with time travel. Okay, let's just put it out there. And anybody in the audience that's been following Monograph stuff with it knows what I'm talking about with his 2 live streams the other day about the Omicron variant, right? And so I'm getting the notes right now off his Twitter. Seems to be like E, B, A, and C, and F. And I think there's another one. But this guy, Live Free or Die Trying on Twitter, he made something with power cords. But, this I think is meant to be done with a frequency generator. And remember me telling you guys that a long time ago, several years ago, about 10 years ago, I inadvertently opened a portal in my son's room using a frequency generator and some other things, looping the radio frequency through my Wi-Fi with my phones, right? And it freaked me out. And it was just visual, it wasn't sucking things into it or anything, but, who knows what I did back then. Maybe I really did throw everybody into some kind of thing. But I'll give you the notes. Oh, here it is, the notes right here. He's got it posted.
Do me a favor. So we are on YouTube, as you know. Just keep it YouTube friendly. Hate to get taken down for you talking about. Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay.
You're okay. Just what to dodge. Help me help you. Go right ahead.
Okay. So the notes from the 3 accounts are the first one is EEBBACFBBAC. The second one is ACFBBACEEBB. And the third one, I'll get to my point in a second. The third one is BACEEBBACFB. Okay, so if you get those notes to make a frequency. So I think there's 3 chords. There's 3 chords in each one of those. So 3, 6, 10 chords, right?
Like musical chords, musical notes is what you're talking about?
Yeah, so E. So the first one would be E, and B would be a chord, and A, C, and F would be a chord.
And you make that minor, you make the A a minor, and that's in the same key. E, B is also same key.
Yeah, well, musicians can figure it out. And play this back, and we get the chords. We'll go to October Rains, October REIGNZ, October Rains, monographs from Twitter, and get the chords. And then get a frequency generator, like a 10-channel, or you can get a Jakarta. Jakarta is a free download. You get 30 runs for free. And it's a complicated oscilloscope thing, but if you mess with it long enough, you can figure it out. But there's several. If you've got BlueStacks on your computer, you can download tons of frequency generators on Google Play Store. So anyway, with Winter's equation, let me get to my point real quick. With Winter's equation, if you convert those notes into frequency, right? Because every note's a frequency, and then you plug those in the frequency generator, and then make them even, and then put 0.618, because you can adjust the frequency by numbers in these generators. It just has to be 0.618, and that's the gold ratio times Planck-Link equation, and or you can put the whole thing in 0.618033989, and pump that multi-frequency. I think that's going to open up in your local time-space continuum some sort of portal.
Okay, have you tried it?
No. I'm scared to, dude. I'm scared to try it because I've opened a portal before, and I don't know if I'm able. I don't know if you're able to close it or not. See, that's. I don't know if this is the opening sequence, or if there's a closing sequence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you. It's actually CERN has called this it's a scientific term called vacuum decay. So
I've got that. The 50 hertz steady signal I'm talking about on CERN. Let me check if it's still going. But they changed the 50 hertz steady signal coming out of CERN that's showing up on the BLF, and it's obviously oh wow, now there's something else going on. Oh, weird. Okay, so the 50 hertz steady signal is obviously being manipulated.
So what you're saying is we actually do live in the upside down.
Pretty much. Caller before last one was he's pretty correct on that. Yeah. I believe we're all synchronizing right now. Have you noticed the synchronicity going on, especially over the social media, especially over YouTube? The algorithm, what I think is happening is the AI, because I've been doing gematria on everything, right? And I did gematria on the Omicron. And I did it elongated. I posted it to Deep State Watchdogs, the 2 runs that I did at the elongated gematria, and one of them came up saying Lucifer was apologizing for himself and basically saying, why don't you worship me, and I'm the good guy and stuff, and all these gematrias, it always comes out as Lucifer and God and Satan. They're all trying to tell you something. Oh well, yeah, okay. So on the magnetic field of the BLF, www.blf.it/sort SORT3.html. You guys go there, go look at the magnetic field, and that 50 hertz steady signal is obviously manipulated. But what was I saying?
So how does this all relate to time travel?
The gematria, and the gematria on that Omicron, it said we have to take out CERN at all costs. And I think that the AI is talking to us through time, and there might be time travelers in our midst. And I think that the AI is warning us of a feedback loop.
Okay.
Because I'm notorious for sending technology into feedback loops. For whatever that means, I think we're heading towards a time-space continuum feedback loop if we don't stop CERN and do something about the you-know-what.
Gotcha. Thank you for hedging your words there. I appreciate it.
So I just dropped that on everybody tonight. Take that as you will. Man, thank you for your show, dude. I really appreciate everybody. And I haven't been doing live streams lately because I've been dealing with this, dude. I didn't know. I'm kind of scared, you know.
Don't be scared. That's literally the number one thing. That's what Troubled Minds is all about. We have a troubled mind because we're not afraid. We're looking into the future, and don't worry, my friend. It's going to be okay, all right? Everybody, Mr. Mission Control has a YouTube channel. Check him out when he gets back to streaming. He's got some good content up there already. And thanks for the call, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Don't be scared, man. Don't worry.
Brother. All right, bye.
All right, man. Have a great night. There you go. Simple as that. You want to be part of the show? 702-957-1037. I'm not sure. He just kind of dropped that on me, so I don't have any time to vet any of that, but we'll go with what he said. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, guys? We're still talking about Tesla. We're talking about his actual experience where he experienced, all the past, present, and future all in the same space. And, we're talking about this quantum mess that is you, that is me, that is everything. And back to what Rohan was saying, by the way, is that he was talking about not just us being conscious, but the universe being conscious, and that's known as panpsychism. And so I think there's some weirdness to this. There's some if we're in that same quantum flux state, the what was it called, the something flux, the temporal flux. Then it means the table is. It means the chair is. It means my cup is. It means this microphone. It means everything is. Everything's in a quantum flux, in a temporal flux. With let's say temporal flux. See, I almost did it. I almost did it. A temporal flux in a quantum mess. But I almost did it. Yeah, I don't know. What's up? Couple quick shout outs. What's up, TR3? Race on YouTube says, next person to open a portal is grounded for 3 weeks, no supper, no internet. There you go.
Aww.
There you go.
But Derek's wounded now.
Yeah, exactly. Busted. Yep. There we go. I don't know. I think that's the weirdness to this. I don't know. It takes on what Robert or Mr. Mission Control said there.
Yeah. Well, that was. I really enjoyed that call, and there's a couple of questions I would like to ask him on some detailed stuff, like physics stuff. But anyway, that story. Yeah, I can see why it might want to be. I can see why this stuff it's big, isn't it? And it can seem worrying, and you think, have I cottoned onto something? Have I done something? Especially something like that. If you've opened up a little bit of a mini portal by accident, but like I say, we've got each other's backs. But I will say that what we're talking about there, that's come up a couple of times in other things in this conspiracy stuff for me, in terms of the time police type thing, right? This thing with Yellow Book and this thing with the feedback loop. If I want to take that, Mike, and run with it, that's all right.
Go for it.
So, all right then. Okay, so the Yellow Book is a proposed alien technology that was given to us as part of the trade deal when we made an agreement. So we get a bit UFO technology, and at some point in all of this dealings with aliens, supposedly we've got this thing called the Yellow Book, which is basically the aliens' version of like a chronovisor, like you can view time with it. Okay, so we've back engineered and made our own, the Looking Glass project, right? But because this is all consciousness, and like Robert said in his call, it's a really great call. I'm going to buy his book because I like some of the comments he makes. So thanks for advertising that, Mike. I'm going to buy it now, so that shows him. But yeah, this thing about the all consciousness. So I'm thinking, if your consciousness is based on your reality, is based on what you've been taught is real, right? Yeah. So with this Yellow Book thing, and with these Looking Glass things, they're interfacing, which is what the new technologies will be in the future. They're going to be driven, or sometimes even powered, by your psychic influence. Okay, so when you're psychically influencing things with your normalcy bias, your personal, prejudice and that, when you view these future timelines, you're viewing them from your bias. Because everything's in flux, they're not going to be fixed timelines. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's all going to be probabilities. Do you know what I mean? But you imagine if politicians are peering into the future, obviously they're going to they're going to be doing all kind of probability stuff. It's almost going to be like they're going to be gambling all day long on these, trying to adjust the timelines, but it's all probabilities and nothing's settled. Do you know what I mean? So I reckon that's what governments do behind the scenes. I reckon they're chasing the tail with that all day long. Now, this thing about CERN being a problem and we must shut it down, I wouldn't mind seeing that Gematria information that we've come up with there, that Mr. Mission Control's come up with, because I've never done any of that stuff. I know Night Stalker does it, that Gematria, but that's interesting with that feedback loop thing, because that ties in to Al Bielek and the Philadelphia experiment, when he claimed to have got propelled into the future, and there was an AI running floating cities. Do you know what I mean? And there was this group called the Wingmakers, which seems to add an appearance, in there's supposed to be this cave where they found some stuff and this laser disc and stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's supposed to have been this stuff that was projected back from the future, warning us about this future reality that we could be heading to. And that was the same with this Yellow Book thing, because when it's a bit like our society splits off at some point on some timeline somewhere, and the elites have gone underground, some disasters happened, and you've evolved independently like different civilizations, and the people on the surface have gone off elsewhere, and then the people underground have ended up changing for being underground and then going off elsewhere, and they don't know about each other. But as soon as we start messing with time travel and stuff, it alerts them. Then there's like a race to come back, and these two races, like what used to be the elites and what is essentially us, have evolved independently, but from different points in time. One from 50,000 years, one from, say, 30,000 years from the future. I've come back to this point, trying to make sure this CERN disaster, one wants to make sure it happens, and the other one wants to stop it, sort of thing. I don't know if you've heard of that one, Mike.
Yeah, there's a ton here. Matt says in the chat, this topic has so many levels, and he's completely right. I was going to bring in the Philadelphia experiment tonight, too, because Tesla has some links to that, and Al Bielek and the rest of this, and I was like, geez, that's just too much. I'm not going to do that. It's tough enough just explaining, like, quantum physics on a basic level, but yeah, man, I'm with you. A couple thoughts on what you said there. You said always in the future, right? Kind of probabilities. The future is always in motion. Well, isn't that what Yoda said? Luke Skywalker asked him, if I don't go and help, will my friends be okay? Yoda meditates for a sec, closes his eyes, and goes, difficult to see. Always in motion, the future is.
Yeah, I remember that now you say.
There's your probability right there of the future always in motion. And there's another thought I had too regarding that. Very much like you guys have seen the Marvel cinematic with Thanos and the Infinity Stones, right? Doctor Strange actually has a moment where he does exactly the same thing. He goes into this like meditative state, super sped up. He's like floating in the air, and he's like, blah, 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 like and fast forward, like, blah, 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 and everybody's like, what is he doing? And they're like, I have no idea. And when he comes out of it, he's simulating future outcomes based on things that happen. And so he's going into those different time spaces, the different.
That's right. Talk about life flash before your eyes. He saw 40 million lives all at once, isn't it?
Like yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they asked
him, headache.
Remember that? And they asked
aspirin.
Exactly. They asked him if there's any hope, and he said, one.
Yeah, just in one.
One chance.
Yeah, one chance.
40 billion chances or whatever the hell it was. One chance.
So, yeah, something like what Elon Musk said is about the chances of we're in a base reality and not a simulation. Exactly. That's the same thing, doesn't it?
Exactly right. Pretty wild stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I think, again, more of this, science fiction becomes science fact. Paranormal becomes more normal. I think this quantum mechanics stuff, man, like this is creepy. Like this is super creepy that, well, okay, so not only do we have this quantum mess going on constantly, now it's time traveling as well. Even if it's in small increments, it means that every single thing around us is in these quantum leap, right? That's what it would be, wouldn't it? This quantum leap. Yeah. Wild, man.
Haven't scientists teleported a particle, haven't they? They managed to teleport particles, right?
Yeah.
So if you start figuring the mechanism and the entanglement, and you can decide which, atoms you want to entangle, you know what I'm saying? You only got to zap one particle and teleport it, and if it's entangled to all the rest, they're all going to essentially go with it, aren't they? I would have thought. Do you know what I mean? So it starts making it look like teleports could actually happen in somewhere or another, or maybe go beyond that. We wouldn't need craft, will we? To keep on with this. Do you know what I'm saying?
We just become the Merkaba, right?
Mm-hmm.
Merkaba time. It's Merkaba time.
It'd be crazy. We'll just be flashes of light everywhere, just flash outside the pub just to walk in. Do you know what I mean? So you can still feel the door. Yay! That sensation of going in.
Exactly. Or as Bill Murray famously said in Ghostbusters, it's Miller time. It says Merkaba time. We'll go with Merkaba time. It makes more sense. Oh, geez. Yeah, man, there's a lot here. This is pretty wild. And I do like the idea that Wim Hof is able to kind of steady his quantum mess, right? Like he's through whatever, and so this actually lends some scientific credence to meditation, right? To sort of these calming rituals that people do. Because we're just, the human condition is just a big spaz case most of the time, right? And so it takes work. They talk about putting in the work, these ascended masters, right? Ascended masters don't pay taxes. Yeah. That's going to be a t-shirt. I swear to God it is. As a matter of fact, let me write that down before I forget it. Ascended masters don't pay taxes.
Get on the to-do list, Mike.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Hold on. Give me just 1 second. Ascended masters don't pay taxes.
Pay taxes.
There we go. I got a whole thing, merch idea. Here we go. All right. I'm typing it right now. All right. But I think that if we're talking about these, maybe those ascended masters, the Wim Hof style, would you say that like Wim Hof being able to control his respiration and maybe his heart rate, all the rest of this stuff, right? Do you think that maybe he would be one of those ascended masters now, kind of like a Merlin level sort of magician?
Maybe if he was trying, because I think maybe if he carried on doing other things, he probably perhaps would be. But Wim Hof, it seems to me, has decided that he's cottoned onto this one thing and he's gone in hard with it. So he's gone to be the best he can be at doing that, to show people, to open the door for people. Do you know what I'm saying? He probably could go and just, run away and go and start just doing magic or whatever. You know what I mean? He probably could. You know what I'm saying? But perhaps he's an example of one of these 7,000 people that, why aren't they flying around levitating? Well, perhaps he's doing it in this way. Perhaps he could do that, but he thinks, like if I could learn, if I knew I could learn to do stuff in the next 10 years, I can levitate, then great. Can I show you? Know what I mean? I suppose how much impact you can have. Do you know what I mean? So, but I think is a prime example. Is a good example of this stuff, and like I say, this control. They would even mention the meditators. They talk about this thing of controlling the monkey mind. I think Alan Watts has said similar things about we've got a responsibility for our thoughts. Do you know what I mean? And it seems to me that we are in a kind of Jumanji situation, but it's got a delayed reaction, and your thoughts only work if you keep them going. And that's why the intention counts. And I think also, belief, but I think belief counts for it. I think intention and belief are the engine. I think what it is there's a mechanism there made. There's a machine made that we can use, right? But to make the engine spark up, it needs the philosopher's stone, which is our intention and our vigor, our drive that we put behind it. And I think when we put that vigor and drive into it, we also need that another key element of belief. And I think that's the one that we struggle with, and I think that's why we get beat down so much, so we don't have the self-belief. Because if we had that, that'd ignite the engine, and then the mechanism would just work for us, and then we'll get the Jumanji stuff coming on a bit faster. Do you know what I mean? Right, and that's why if you watch or read the book for The Secret, they don't tell you all the details. They're giving you a rough idea of the law of attraction. And they're saying you got to believe it, you got to visualize it, you got to have your goal board, because you got to keep watering it all the time until it happens, because you're constantly pulling it temporarily from the future to the now. Do you know what I mean? And once you stop watching it and start doubting it, then it's like you're letting go. You got to start over. So I think, and that's what all the magician people say. Do you know what I'm saying? They believe that. They've got to believe it. You've got to put everything into it. And with things like prayer, miraculous things do sometimes happen for people, even if the small fry stuff. Like to me, like you really needed to find £1.28 for the bus fare, and you're stranded, and you find £1.30. Do you know, right before the bus stop, sort of thing. And they only seem trivial, but they're like miracle things that you manifested because you were that desperate. You pushed it, and that's why you found the £1.30 on the floor. I think that shit's for real, and I think that's the world's biggest secret. So there's mine, Mike.
There you go. That's actually, I found this quote recently, and I think it's pretty brilliant. Albert Einstein said that coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. And I love that. Which means, of course, right, back to that movie Signs, M. Night Shyamalan. We're just going to hop all over the place from Marvel to M. Night Shyamalan to Star Wars, Yoda, and all the rest of this. But if you remember Signs, that movie, the Mel Gibson character, the preacher who lost his faith, asked the question in that movie, what kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person that believes that everything happens randomly? Or do you think that everything happens for a reason? And well, here we are. I don't have any answers. I only have more questions, but I think there's a lot of amazing stuff to be had from these types of conversations. You know, it's maybe this process here is maybe a long-term Wim Hof. You know, it's a way to a long-term way to maybe settle those the quantum mess that makes up ourselves. Maybe that's what's going on here. I certainly feel it. I feel, like I said, a troubled mind is not afraid, right? A troubled mind is educated as much as possible. A troubled mind is looking to the future. A troubled mind knows the past. And a troubled mind is expecting good things because we can help manifest those good things. And I think that's what all this is about. To me, like I said, be not afraid. Be not afraid, my friend. Good stuff as always. You're the best, Rohan. What else you got, man? We're about out of time here. A few minutes left, but
I know.
But if you got more to say, we got time. You know me. If
I sort of wrap up. Go on, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Just saying. If nobody tells us when to start. We start on the radio schedule, but nobody tells us when to stop. How about that? And so we.
That's right. Yeah, the beat keeps going.
The beat keeps going, and the beat goes on. So yeah. If you got more, man, you got other ideas on this. I think there's a lot. I think again back to the quantum stuff here. I like the term quantum mess, right? Because it seems like there are so many things within us, within ourselves, this meat suit that we don't think we can control. But, again, let's go ahead and call Wim Hof an ascended master, people like that can control their heart rate, their respiration, can go out in like shorts and bare feet in the snow, things like this, right? And jump in ice water and the whole thing because they don't panic, right? It's like a zen, right? It's sort of like that zen state forever. And he just puts himself in it and stays in that state. And I think that's what we're talking about here. That's why we got some amazing stuff going on and amazing conversation tonight. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I love how you brought me back on that. You brought me back to that when I mentioned Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. And I forgot to say, that was my train of thought, that it said the trauma is how the hero on the quest, he was going through the trauma, is how it grows. And reading about people who've been held in captivity, Teal Swan, I've got her book, The Completion Process, and it starts out by her explaining how she was held in captivity for years. Do you know what I mean? So she got stuck with herself, which she couldn't bear, stuck in a well with a grill on the top. You know what I mean? Locked in, and so she had to, in order to survive, she had to retreat into the despair and the hopelessness and kind of give up. And it took her to a kind of peaceful place, like say that almost zen-like state. And from that place, you can lean into the trauma more and more and sort of see it for what it is and get to this point of acceptance with it. And in accepting it, it kind of empowers you in some strange way. Do you know what I'm saying? But you can never really appreciate it because it's crap. In a crappy situation, it's crap. and you can never really appreciate it until afterwards, when you can see the difference of the strength. Do you know what I mean? And difference in the way that you do things in your mindset. It's just when you're in it, you don't know it, do you? But it's like, say, going through that trauma and having to work that stuff. It's almost like, I always say, it's like a resistance that you need, just like you need resistance in resistance training. You need a weight to work against to build a muscle. And without that, you're only looking at stagnation. So I think this is all just part of how things naturally work. We have this dichotomy of positive and negative, but there's also a reflecting aspect. So you're always reflecting off source and then into the opposite frequency, then reflecting off source and back into the opposite frequency. And I think that's where we get a bit mixed up with time. Because I think what it is with time is that time is eternal. So there is no time, but it's like a flow of kind of energy, of consciousness. And I think what happens with our existence is that we cross over it. So we intersect it momentarily, reflect off source or whatever the mechanism is, and then come back over the eternal time stream in the opposite polarity, then reflect off of it again and come back. So we're doing a kind of binary triplet, flipping from positive to negative, as well as intersecting so it's like the universe is blinking on and off all the time. And so where Night Stalker asks, are we creating time? We're creating everything, and then destroying it and creating it and destroying it, sort of thing, as it keeps flipping polarity, as we keep intersecting the eternal streams. That makes sense. I recommend definitely sit through the Moko Rodin 3-hour vortex maths lecture. It sounds horrible, but it's brilliant. It's really simple. You have to undo the complexity of your head. It's great.
So many things sound horrible, but are brilliant. You got to force yourself. That sounds horrible. What you put jalapenos in that? Oh God, that's horrific. Why would anybody do that? And then you force yourself, and you're like, this is kind of tasty.
Cheese and pineapple, you're crazy.
Exactly. Oh boy. All right. And this is Troubled Minds. See, this is why we do a third hour, because we can just kind of, no radio clock, no time frame, nobody telling us what to do, what to think, what to say, all the rest of that stuff. It's just it sort of progresses into a lot of things. And I think this was a deep one tonight, because it's a lot. When we're talking about the quantum world and how it actually affects all kinds of things that are like us, reality itself, because once again, you go back to the quantum level and that quantum mess that I'm talking about, where it's kind of always spurging out in this flux, in this temporal flux, as it's known, well, in sci-fi anyway. That means everything around us is also in this same similar, anyway, temporal flux. And
right.
So, which is nuts. That's the insane part. And so think of right? Think of the space you're in right now, wherever you're sitting, wherever you're standing, wherever you're listening, whatever you're driving, maybe, who knows, whatever's going on. You're at work, who knows. Think of that space you're in, but in that exact same space, 2 minutes ahead of us is an entirely different reality with an entirely different person sitting in that space. And it may even be you just 2 minutes ahead of yourself, but it exists. I mean, like it starts to like that in and of itself, right? The whole time is a flat circle business, but then you start throwing in all this quantum weirdness. Shit gets weird, man. Shit gets weird. And
it's like you're shape-shifting and teleporting at all times, but you tend to be doing it on the same spot.
Exactly. And that's really what this is about. It's about maybe figuring out a way to calm that quantum mess. I don't know. I don't have the answers. You guys know me. I'm the questions guy, not the answers guy. I wish I had the answers. I just read them off. We'd have the shortest show ever. It'd be like 5 minutes. All right, guys, here are the answers. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we're out. Have a great night. That's also a lot less fun, isn't it? There needs to be some.
You catch all the commuter traffic as well. Quick 5-second video.
Exactly. Be sure to avoid the traffic. Make a left turn right here. There you go. That's the next quantum level. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a lot, and I think that's what's going on here. But I don't know. I think that's like I said. It seems like it's a heavy topic. It's deep. It goes into all different things. We talked about Joseph Campbell. We talked about Yoda. We talked about Nikola Tesla, all in the same show, right? And it's like, wait, what? It doesn't seem to make sense. However, right, you can start at the beginning and you'll see we're kind of making sense of all this other stuff. And I don't know, like I'm not claiming answers just yet because, well, I better be a floating Merkaba that can take cold showers at will before I claim any kind of answers. So you got that commitment from me. I'm not going to be telling you guys anything is the truth until I can float as a Merkaba in a cold shower, and it's all good, which I don't think is happening anytime soon. So, yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. Let's get the hell out of here, Rohan. Rohan, he's got a podcast one more time. The famous Liam Martin. Thank you again for all those amazing actual files you sent over. Actually, let me see. Let me grab one. Let's play one of these real quick. Let's. We got you on. We're at the end of this. Let's
come on the spot.
No, I'm going to find him. No, I'll find a good one. Hold on. I got this. We got this. So Rohan, we got this. We got this because you already did it. You already got this. So Rohan's been making some files here, and I'm going to find one. Let's see. It has link embed or file. Let's search. There it is. Nope. Sorry. All right. I'm searching Discord right here. So Rohan's made some pretty sweet. You guys heard the one that with Ash going, the aliens are looking through your optic nerve and right that whole bit. So let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Has file. There we go. All right. 1 sec. We're going to do this. We're going to find this and we're going to play one.
There's so many shows, Mike. There's so many amazing quotes. It's so hard.
So many amazing quotes, right? All right. So we got the Rohan remix. What else do we got here? Hold on. There's some other stuff. Let me find one real quick. What else is here? You got a request? You got one you want to... Let's see.
Do you know, it's all fire and forget for me. I don't even know what I've done.
Fire and forget.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, like a tomahawk.
Oh, boy. All right. Hold on 1 second here. Let's see. Sound. There we go. All right. There it is. There. All right, here we go. We're going to play this. This is from, this is Rohan, right? This is, he's making some of these things. Check this out. This is from Algorithm. He called in. This is a good one, right? The Algo one. You okay with this?
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, go for it.
Check this out. This is what Rohan's making kind of behind the scenes. Like he says, he fires and forgets, and this is what this shit sounds like. Our good buddy Mike Steele, Algorithm, check out his channel. Link is all the way scroll down to the bottom of the YouTube page. He's a friend there. This is what Rohan made about a call from Mike Algorithm.
And there was a congressional bill called the Administrative Procedures Act of 1946, which abdicated the responsibility of Congress and made way for DEA, the FDA, all the government agencies, all the bureaucrats. That was the final nail in the coffin of the Republic. The first nail was the Emancipation Proclamation, not really, but the Reconstruction Act. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913 took away Congress' ability to collect money and regulate the value thereof and gave it away to private bankers. My point is that the breakaway civilization, in a political realm, they stole the nation from the people in 1946.
Boom! Fantastic stuff. Just show off some other work you've been doing. Got some other amazing stuff that I just wanted to show off the work that Rohan's been doing behind the scenes. Fire and forget. There you go. It was a call from our good buddy Mike Algorithm, Mike Steele in Colorado. So yeah, there we go. Just give Rohan a follow. He's doing some good work over there as well. Exiled Minds podcast, and let's do it. Let's get the F out of here. I want to play some music, and you were able to hear that, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, cool.
Okay. All right. Then you should be able to hear this. Let's finish this MFR up. What do you say?
Let's do it. Can we get a ow?
Can we get a ow? All right. Final thought, my man. What do you got?
Terence McKenna quote, if time was space, then history would be a cobweb.
I love it. Terence McKenna, the Machine Elf Pioneer. All right, here's what we're doing. We're done. The bad news is we're done. The good news is, God willing, we've got tomorrow. If you love this show, please spread the word. Let people know. That's still the old school way to bypass the algorithms. Word of mouth helps, and let people know there's a conversation going on. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about considering the possibility of things. And that's what this show's about. That's what this show's always been about. That's what this show will continue to be about. Love all of you. Thank you for listening. Thanks for being part of the chat. Thanks for being part of the podcast feed. I see you guys out there listening. Lots of downloads happening. Growing. Troubled Minds every day is becoming Troubled Minds Nation. It's turning into a scary place, I tell you what. But guess what? We remain unafraid, looking to the future, trying to educate ourselves through the past. And, well, like I said, don't be afraid. They want us to be afraid. Let's still our quantum mess and be not afraid, my friends. We're here with our good buddy Rohan and all the amazing calls tonight. We're out of here. What's up, Promethean Reckoning? I see you there. What's going on, guys? TR3, I didn't say hi to you. What's up, Bernays Sauce? What's happening? Let's get the hell out of here. So as we finish, we'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific, more Troubled Minds. And you know how this goes. Be sure, be strong.
Be strong, be true.
Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. Can I get a... There it is. That one's for Jay. That's for our good buddy Jay. All right. Thank you for having the quote ready. Look at that. We got the J and the J backup. The J Tro with the Rohan Tro. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks again for all the amazing downloads you guys are doing in the podcast feed. Thanks for all the amazing chat. Thanks for all the amazing calls. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hopefully you have another amazing topic. I'll do my best. Like I said, I'm me, you're you, together we're us. So we'll do more of that tomorrow. Catch you guys later. Troubled Minds, out.